Well, hi everyone and good evening. Welcome to Paul English Live 153. Yeah, 153. I've just had a lot of fun in the last 25 minutes, believe you me. I'll try not to bore you about it too much as we kick off the show. We got a special guest on tonight. Max Igan's joining us in about 5 minutes' time. Anyway, hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to the show. Billy Button Technical Trouser Mayhem here for the last 15 minutes, and I didn't cause it. Guy Anderson's got a lot to answer for. Here as well, not in my soul, but outside, all the lights gone. Hi everyone, welcome back. So there I was. I just thought before the show, before I got into makeup, as one does, that I'd go for a little tootle along by the coast, you see, because as many of you know, I'm only about 125 yards from it. So I thought I'd better go and get a bit of wind in my sails. I went down, it's beautiful. I look over to the west and there's one of these towering black clouds, which was a thrill because as many of you know, we haven't seen any clouds around here for months on end. And I looked at it and it was limned. I think that's the correct word, isn't it? L-I-M-N-E-D, limned by the final rays of the sun as it's slowly saying goodbye to today. And I thought, oh, that's a really great cloud, but it's not going to rain. But about 5 minutes ago, just as we were getting set up, a huge crack of thunder, I don't know what it is, peal, crack, doom, whatever it was, and then an absolute torrent of rain thundering down on the rooftops. So we might get a bit of that to lend atmosphere to the show as we move on through. Fun old week. Don't know what your week has been like. The technical trouser stuff that was just happening there is, as you know, I'll just do the housekeeping here. We're going out on Rumble and YouTube. I think everything's going fine there. I did a quick check and we started a little bit early with that stream, so hopefully things are good there. We are, of course, going out over WBN 324. We're on WBN 324 for the next couple of hours over in the States primarily. So welcome to the show, you guys and gals. And we are, of course, on Food for Thought Radio, fftradio.com. If you want to chat, and I've got a big screen up here. Well, it's not that big, but it's big enough for me. I've got a screen up with all the chats on it. We've got the Rumble chat and the YouTube chat. Pick your favourite poison, or the FFT radio chat, which I'm looking at all of them. So I'll say hi to you in due course if the opportunity presents itself throughout the show. So please type away like Billy-O. I think that's all the housekeeping, isn't it? We're probably going out on a few other networks as well. We're on Global Voice Network. See, I always forget someone, and Eurofolk Radio and a couple of others as well. So thanks, everyone, for picking up the show. What did I mention last week? I know, there was another thing I wanted to mention. Actually, I thought if I said the word mention, I'd remember what it was. Don't know if any of you caught, I know a few, actually quite a clutch did, caught Karen Dodd's show yesterday from 5 till 7 here in jolly old England. She had two cracking guests on. It was a really good sort of tea time show Wednesday. Very, very good. I'm bigging it up because I enjoyed it a great deal. She had a guy on called Simon Elmer, and he was then joined a little bit later on by David Clues. Now, David Clues is the hard-working Scottish lad that runs Unity News Network on Rumble. So that goes out, I think, just about every night of the week. He does a great job there. And Simon Elmer is an author who's written a book on the Islamification of jolly old England. A thrilling topic, but a very important one. The thing that was really good about the interview is that he's got a lot of data, a lot of information which he brought to bear, a lot of numbers. And I think it might be worth your while, if you didn't catch the show, to head on over and download it from fftradio.com or give it a spin, because there's some key information in there, and it's a little bit more harrowing than you probably imagined. But he is a statistician and has got the numbers in. So things are looking wonderfully fun over here. I also heard another little thing this morning that the population density of England, or certainly of these islands, has increased by 20% in the last 28 years. And we were pretty densely populated anyway. I think there's only Holland that beats us in terms of human beings per square mile here in jolly old Europe and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd give a shout out for that, because I really enjoyed it. Also, pretty good show with Miles Johnston. Look, I'm bigging everybody up tonight. But he had some cracking guests on Tuesday evening. So that was pretty good too. Anyway, there you go. I don't just produce shows and sit on them. I actually listen to them as well. Anyway, on to tonight's show. I mentioned last week, and I actually had a chat with him about 10 days ago, Max Igan, and Max has been able to join us for this evening. So, Max, hi, good evening, and welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Paul. Thanks for having me on, brother.
It's brilliant to have you on. It's great. I mean, we've only had the one call, and I enjoyed it so much, I thought I should have recorded it. We could have probably put that out as the show, even though it was only about 40 minutes long. Time zone-wise, where are you right now? Or am I prying too much?
No, I'm in Croatia at the moment, so it's pretty close to you. It's only an hour difference, I think. It's like 9 o'clock here.
Yep. Cool. And is it dark and grim, and have you got thunderstorms, or are you having beautiful weather?
It's dark and hot. It's been really, really hot since I've been here, like unnaturally hot in Croatia at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're expecting some storms tonight, I think.
That's good.
See how it pans out. I mean, they've had really bad fires here down in Split and stuff as well, so it's been pretty drastic.
Really? How long have you been there then? I know you, obviously, I guess many people know that you're a bit of a gadabout and you're moving around all over the place, but how long have you been sort of ensconced there?
I've been here since August 1st.
Right.
I'll just be here for about a month, and then I'll be back to Mexico. I came here for Liber Pulko to speak in Serbia at Liberland. Right. I did that, and now I'm back in Croatia. It's been unfathomably hot, and we had really bad fires, like down at a place called Omiš, which is just near Split. They had terrible, terrible fires there just about a week ago, a few days ago. Very suspect. I mean, all these fires are suspect that I'm seeing around the world. But it did a lot of damage. Of course, nothing blue burnt, which is interesting. And a forest fire that left a lot of trees standing and turned all the houses to ash, like we saw in Paradise and other places. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think we've got them over here. I mean, I don't know, what's the temperature at which grass spontaneously combusts? Because really, the finger would point to arson. And, they all joke that people are arson about, but it's going on everywhere. We have guests on here from Canada. They've had similar things. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, there was a lot of that going on. And then you mentioning the blue houses. Wasn't that the situation over in, was it Hawaii a couple of years back? All that kind of stuff.
None of the blue stuff burned. Same in Paradise, California. None of the blue roofed houses burned. And you would see plastic playground stuff in the backyard that wasn't burnt as well. Yeah, interesting. Microwaves don't burn plastic. And we've seen fires like in Spain, really bad fires here in Croatia, all over the place. It's been terrible. And they can actually start fires with lasers. I actually put on my last video, I showed you a new tree felling business where they come and trim branches off your trees, and they use laser cannons to do it. So it isn't like this technology doesn't exist,
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I was just trying to think. I was mentioning the other week that I need to create a memory hole chart for all the things that keep disappearing down the memory hole, because I was saying to someone, maybe a diary would be good. I don't know how long everybody's memory is for events, but I suspect mine's probably no more than 2 or 3 months. And if you start adding them up, you suddenly see this sort of cluster of all these sort of crazy events, which are quickly replaced by the next crazy event. There's just a non-stop sort of production line of all this craziness that's going on all the time. So I guess you're probably aware of that.
I'm speeding up almost. It really is. Like, it's just nuts how quick things are happening, and just over and over again. And so much of it, like, it's like they're just saturating us with stuff. So you never get too much time to focus on anything before the next event comes. And like you say, it's down the memory hole. It's crazy. This last couple of years, like even since maybe the fade out of COVID, since then.
Yes, I am.
It's just been nuts. It's been crazy. And when it isn't crazy, they make sure it is. Like, you're starting wars with Iran and earthquakes in Colombia and whatever. It's just bizarre. The news every day is just bizarre.
Can you hear my seagulls?
I do.
It's to lend atmosphere to the broadcast, mate.
He hasn't actually brought me onto the
See, I wasn't lying. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about the events. There's another one.
I'll give him a note.
It's the most exciting thing that's happened weather-wise around here for about 3 months,
right?
because the weather has been weird. Now, either I'm becoming super paranoid as the years go by, but I don't think so, because we've had long, hot summers, or certainly longish spells in the past, but this one's been inordinately sort of strange. It's been just relentlessly the same every day. They've been telling us how hot it is, and of course they're now... Actually, I haven't seen them bigging up the climate change stuff too much, but I think they're just playing with your head. They kind of sort of back it one day and then take it away the next. And, you know, there's a continual sort of disturbance in the communications process, so that no one's minds can ever really settle on anything like approximating the truth. It's a permanent sort of psychological warfare.
Well, yeah, I mean, even telling you that.
Okay, I sent him a note in the StreamYard studio, but I don't know if he looks at that chat.
And much hotter occasions in England, much hotter stuff.
Thank you, Lisa.
They do things where they paint the weather maps red where they never used to, and they tell you that it's hot. So you can go and look at weather maps from the 70s or even 80s and 90s, and look at the temperatures, and it's about the same as what it is, and it's just a weather map. But now it's all painted red, you know. And they just put that into your mind, so you start to think that it's more hot.
Okay, I'll try that.
Hotter days than this when I was a kid in Adelaide, 50 years ago. So it's just all propaganda, and it's just controlling the way people think. I mean, that's what the system is all about, brother. Gubermente, control mind,
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. No, I think the BBC's weather department are probably going to run out of an ever more intense red. You know, it's 28 degrees, and of course it's incredibly red, and you're going, well, this is just okay, it's fine. You know, so yeah, all that kind of stuff. Going now, I know many people here will know you, and obviously you know, and you've been in this game broadcasting for what, 15, 16 years, about 2010, or is it even before that?
2008, I started doing my first radio shows. I was sort of speaking online before then, but couldn't find any way to harness the power of the internet. But I got given a radio show on American Voice Radio in 2008. That's when I started making films and started sort of speaking out on YouTube and in that sort of a format. And so, it's been 18 years that I've been doing this now.
So you're just getting started, just getting used to it by now, right?
Yeah.
Was there something that sparked you off, that launched you into this space? I mean, I think I heard a comment from you on something that I was checking out the other day, where you said from an early age, and I guess many people think that it's from an early age, although we're all kind of troubled. But is there any sort of particular kind of kickoff event that really pushed you in this direction more than any other?
Well, I was, like I said, from a very early age, I knew there was something terribly wrong. I couldn't understand why we had to buy land or pay to be alive or any of that sort of stuff. Like when I was 4 years old, I wanted to go live in the forest, and my mum told me we couldn't live there because we didn't own the land. And the whole concept of land ownership really kind of freaked me out. And I started observing people then and realized that no one's talking about anything real. Everyone's just basically talking about nothing. Like my mother just talks about other people and stuff. And I'm just observing this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then I went to high school, and they weren't teaching me anything. And I found out when I was 8 years old that my mum told me no one knew how they built the pyramids. So I started reading encyclopedias and trying to find out about the pyramids when I was 8. So by the time I got to high school, I'd read a lot of ancient history and a lot of that sort of stuff, and Greek mythology. I was right into that. Rather than Batman comics, I used to enjoy the stories of Odin.
Hey, same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Greek mythology and Nordic mythology and Egyptian mythology, these are great stories, So I was into all that sort of stuff. So by the time I got to school, I was arguing with all my teachers because they're teaching me nothing. And so I got kicked out of 4 high schools by the time I was halfway through my 3rd year of high school. And just thought, this is no good. So I joined a band and became a musician and lived on the outside of society for most of my life, and continued to do that and continued to always work in music and researching all this stuff as a hobby until the 9/11 attacks happened in 2001. And then I thought, oh, holy shit, this is serious. This is the big event we've been waiting for. So then I was kind of switched and became more active. And I was hitting chat rooms and Yahoo chat and all this sort of stuff in 2003 to 2005. And then in 2008, I discovered YouTube. And I thought, because YouTube I think it was invented in 2005, I think. And I thought it was just a
early days of it. Yeah, those early days. It was before it became the behemoth that it is now. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it was just a place that kids uploaded their home movies and shit too, But then in 2000 and late 2007, I discovered there was actually a whole bunch of truth stuff on there. And I thought, oh, shit, I can do that. So I made a film. I didn't think anyone would watch it, but everyone did. And suddenly I got offered radio interviews and all sorts of stuff. And I did a couple of radio interviews and then got offered a radio show. So I did a talkback radio show from 2008 until 2019, and then thought I need a break from this. So I took a break, and then the Australian fires broke out, and then COVID happened, and all this stuff happened. So I ended up making, doing 4 times as much work as what I did when I said I needed the break. So I still haven't had that break. But that's how I got on the path. I mean, you do this because it needs to be done. You observe what's going on in the world, and you realize that, if you know this stuff and you can see what's going on, you kind of have an obligation to share it with other people. Otherwise, you're part of the problem. So that's why I started doing it.
Yeah. The radio stuff then, where were you based then? Were you still in Australia at that time, or had you started to sort of move around a bit?
No, I was still in Australia, and I was offered a radio slot by a station in Kansas called American Voice Radio. One of the guys contacted me. I put out a film called The Big Picture, and this guy contacted me and said, I want to have you on for an interview. And I'm like, what, is this a hit piece? And he said, no, I've been trying to wake up my neighbor for 5 years, and I can't. And I showed him your film, and it woke him up. So I want to have you on to talk about your film. So I did that, and then the radio station said, wow, the phones are ringing off the hook. Everyone loves your accent and blah, blah, blah. We want to offer you.
What accent? What are you talking about?
Yeah, my Australian accent,
Yeah, no, it trades well in the States, doesn't it? It trades well.
Well, it did, yeah. And I was really surprised, but he said, yeah, I want to give you your own radio slot. So I was on that show, Surviving the Matrix, for 11 years. I stayed on that radio station. And that's sort of how I started doing it. I used to do the radio show, and then I'd do a slideshow to go with it and post it on YouTube, so that's how it all happened.
Yeah.
Then I got kicked off YouTube for 5 years, and they just let me back on about, 10 months ago.
Why did they kick you off? As if I could.
I can't imagine.
Why? I wonder why. They do seem to be a lot less, on the censorship, they seem to be looser than they were. It's as if something happened when Musk kind of released the censorship things to some degree on X, supposedly, that they kind of let go a little bit as well. I
suspect they're phishing. Like I've got 2 strikes
I do.
on my channel at the moment. If I upload anything else and they give me another strike, then my channel will be deleted. So I'm just not uploading anything until after probably October the 4th.
Right.
Then I'm allowed back on. Then I can gather up a couple more strikes in if I need to. But
Gotcha.
I'm also banned from X until October the 4th. They gave me a 3-month ban. They didn't like me picking up for Palestine. But I think they let us all back on YouTube because they're phishing. Also, there was a large truth movement growing on BitChute, and they want to shut that down. So they want people to leave BitChute and go back to YouTube. Mm-hmm. And if they do that, then it will take all the funding away from BitChute and it will end up closed down. Then they'll kick us all off YouTube again, and we won't have a free speech platform. I mean, BitChute, for all of its problems, it's still the most free speech platform that we've got. I was a little bit disconcerted. I found out a few weeks ago that Laura Loomer had been invited to speak as one of the board of advisors on BitChute.
Oh dear!
But I later found out that was in 2005, 2025, and she's gone now. She's not on the board anymore. So I think perhaps a little bit of naivety caused that. But anyway, I mean, it's still the best free speech platform we got, but I think it's banned in.
It is. There's a few people. Eric's one of them who's just lurking in the studio. Might come in a little bit later on in the interview and stuff. But people that upload that in jolly old England, you need a VPN to get there. So people go, "Oh, well, that's easy."
In jolly old England, I heard that 1,200 people have been arrested for Facebook posts. It's crazy.
Yeah, probably a week. I mean, it's nuts. I think it was something like about 11 to 12,000 people last year. Seriously.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And I think, you'd have to drill that.
12,000 instead of 1,200 I was thinking of.
Maybe. I'm sure it was that big. It was sort of dwarf, real policing. They don't do that anymore, as everybody now knows. Oh, well, not everybody, but many, many know that. And I mean, I just put that down to it's the same tactic as making certain words forbidden, going all the way back to Bolshevik Russia and probably even before that. You demonize certain words. That's how it starts off. You leave that for a couple of years and then you start to push people for using those words. And nobody's actually worked out what the definition of the words is. And most of the stuff is just people trying to tell things straight. But they get painted a particular way, and then, way, that's you demonized. We can get you kicked off and all that kind of stuff. And it's got out of it. It's absolutely mad. I mean, I heard something even today where the police, so-called, over here are trying to ask questions to try and ascertain what you've been thinking. Seriously, what you've been thinking.
That's what search engines are all about, brother.
Yeah.
A search engine, you're not just looking for data. Using a search engine, you tell the internet what you're thinking. And new laws that have come in Australia, the cops want to be able to clone people's cell phones at traffic stops. Okay, so they can take your phone. If you use your phone for searching the internet and all that sort of stuff, and you do all your stuff on your phone, then they can clone all that. They can see everything you've deleted. They can get anything that's been redacted. They can unredact it. And they can see your entire browsing history. Because people have to show ID in order to activate SIM cards now, they've had to do this for the last few years. With your name and your number, they can go back through every SIM card you've had, every phone you've had, right back since the entire history of the internet. So this is what's coming in Australia. And it will, if it comes in Australia, it will come in England. It will come in everywhere else. This is how they do it. Mm-hmm. But the amount of data they can get, I mean, this is what all these data centers are being built for. This and for robot control and all sorts of stuff. People are generating so much data by using these cell phones. Like your cell phone has a barometer in it. It knows when you get in and out of a car. It knows when you go up and down stairs. You have 2 or 3 cell phones in a room together, and you can triangulate the room, map the room, get a 3D visual of the room. They can basically see through the walls, like Matrix, if you've got 3 cell phones in the room. And they generated an enormous amount of data. There was a talk, one of the guys from Palantir was in a restaurant, and he said to someone, there was a conversation going on at the table next to him. This guy overheard the conversation. He was from Palantir, and he chimed in and he said, what's going on in Gaza has been a blessing for Palantir. I mean, sure, the genocide is terrible, but it's been a blessing for Palantir because we've been able to find how people react in emergencies. He said, when someone has a cell phone and the cell phone is stationary, it doesn't give us any data. But if they're moving around with the cell phone, and when you've got hundreds of people all moving together in panic because there's been a bomb explosion or whatever, it gives us so much data. And this is what we've used to be able to finalize the Palantir system. Right. So this is what is happening. And people use AirPods, these wireless earphones. You see people, joggers, using these things. These things let off a wireless beep every 30 seconds. If you've got a smartwatch on, or you've got something that's measuring how many steps you take or whatever that these runners do, if you have 3 things on you, like you've got your cell phone, you've got your earpods, you've got your smartwatch, then that creates a unique digital fingerprint of you. And you might notice around town, up on lampposts, and sometimes when you walk into a shopping center or a building, you'll see a little white box up on the wall or up on the post or something. It looks like a modem or something like that, like a router. This is actually a sniffer, and it sniffs what electronic circuitry you've got on you. So you might get on a bus, there's a sniffer on the bus. You get off the stop, there's a sniffer at the stop. You go into the supermarket, there's a sniffer in the supermarket. It recognizes the 3 or 4 pieces of wireless equipment that you have on you, and it tracks and traces you everywhere you go. It knows who you interact with. They can turn your speaker on your phone into a microphone. Well, your phone's got a microphone on it anyway. They can turn this on, listen to your conversations whenever they want. Even if you have a smart TV, they can turn your speaker on your TV into a microphone and listen to the conversations going on in your room, even if your TV is switched off. If it's still plugged in, they can do it.
I'm done for. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, you've got to unplug all these things when you're not using them. If it's switched off, they can still access it. There was a guy in Australia, this is about 5 years ago. There was a guy in Australia who was arrested because the police were listening to his breakfast conversation through his smart fridge. He was suspected of he was planning a robbery, and he actually was. But this is what they used to justify their use of smart technology. I mean, what's the chances of your refrigerator being online and having a microphone in it, and the cops can turn that microphone on any time? This is the sort of society we're walking into, and people are just doing it blindfolded. They just don't realize what they're getting involved in and how easy it actually would be to stop it if we just stopped using the tech that they're rolling out to enslave us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the word easy, I understand where you're coming from. I tend to feel that human habit, and you've been around a little bit and I've been around a little bit, and I notice as the years go by, I have developed habits. The worst ones are the ones I'm not fully conscious of course. You get conscious of certain ones. But I know that if I've got to change the whoop and woof of my day, it's far more of a challenge than it used to be when I was younger. My day wasn't as cemented. I didn't have as many clear, definite ideas about things when I was 16 as I did when I was 60. And changing habit, I think, is a major sort of issue. It's a bit like weight loss. People go, oh, I'm overweight, I've got to lose weight. And they bang around for years and years and years. And there's a fundamental change that they need to make, which is, stop eating so many pies or whatever. But they never get round to doing it because of habit. And I think our would-be controllers know this. They know about our sort of habit rates, the speed at which we can acquire new ones, and so on and so forth. I mean, the smartphones are interesting because I didn't get one until relatively late. I was quite happy with a Nokia up until about 2006 or something like that. But that means I've had one for 20 years now. And I don't really use it as a smartphone. I've really got one messaging app that I use all the time, and that's about it. But that's probably lame because I do accept that, the microphones are there. And in the end, it's so convenient. And, this is one of the ways that they get us all the time by providing lots of lovely convenience, a bit like supermarkets are so convenient, which leads to the decimation of the high street. So no doubt they've planned every single little sort of tick and detail out with regards to this process of slowly seducing us into a much more compliant condition where we're much more easy to boss around,
Yeah, well, the phone is it's an interesting thing because, I mean, I don't use them either. I've got a phone because, like the airline company in Mexico, the only way you can get your tickets is to download it onto a phone. You can't download it into WhatsApp or anything. It has to be a phone. So I use it for that, and that's about it. I've never made a phone call on it. It doesn't leave the house with me except when I go traveling. I download airline tickets on it, and then I turn it off, and it stays off until I have to put new airline tickets on it. I've actually never made a phone call on the phone. But the thing is, it's even if you don't use it, it's the fact that you carry it around with you everywhere is the problem. So it's giving them data whenever you leave the house with this thing. And it gives them the opportunity to triangulate where you are. Like I said, there's these sniffers everywhere who just track and trace what you do and where you go, who you interact with. They're able to predict your movements because, like you said, we're creatures of habit. It's an interesting thing. I mean, my life is kind of functioned in a way I haven't been able to develop too many habits. and don't. It's always been a transient lifestyle. Like I've been in Mexico for 5 years now. I still haven't fully unpacked my suitcases because I'm just not used to unpacking my suitcases.
Yeah.
I lived as a musician for most of my life and traveled most of my life. I've been, it's very transient lifestyle. It's very easy for me to adjust to just being a roaming person, like a nomadic lifestyle. So that's kind of interesting. And I've never really needed a phone. I just don't use the phone. So, I mean, if people would stop using these things and stop taking them with them everywhere, go back to just flip phones, just use them for phone calls. Don't use them to surf the internet. Don't hook up to all these wireless devices and all this sort of stuff. I mean, if people would simply do that and stop shopping with credit cards, because when you shop with credit cards, you create a paper trail of what you buy, what you eat. You become very predictable and you feed the data centers. All the people complaining about the data centers can complain all they want, but if they're carrying their cell phone around with them everywhere they go and delivering data every 30 seconds to some sniffer somewhere, and your cell phone's letting off a ping every 30 seconds, it might even be every 10 seconds now, and you're shopping with a credit card, then you're supplying all the data for these data centers. So, if we stopped using our cell phones, dragging cell phones around with us, and stopped shopping with credit cards, we would bring the system to its knees in a week. People,
but are we going to do that? What do you think? I mean, can we come up with a tablet that everybody could take? I know.
Well, that's the thing. People won't do it. People say, well, you'll never get people to do that. Well, you can't speak for other people. Well, you're speaking for yourself. What you're saying is, no, I will never do that. That's what I always say to them, And unfortunately, that's the situation that we got. So, we're in a state of clear and present danger. And the ones who are running the whole thing, it's all dependent on our compliance. If we stop complying for 1 week, we'd change the system. If we stop tolerating wrong behavior and stop stepping out of our moral compass every day, then we change the world in 3 seconds. But people won't do that. People are kept in an artificial state of scarcity through this money system. They're taught never to trust each other. I mean, everything you see on the news is death and war and, oh, my God, your neighbors want to kill you. Don't trust the guy down the road. Never turn your back on anyone. Drug addicts everywhere, crime everywhere. All crime is created generally because people are in a state of scarcity, apart from crimes of passion, It's generally because people are kept in a state of scarcity because of this monetary system, which isn't designed to help us. It isn't even the people who control the world don't even want money. They want power.
No,
money
no,
is
they
simply
don't.
there to keep people in shortage. That's its entire purpose. We need to work this out. We need to grow up and stop believing we need parents, i.e. government, and all become adults again and just say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. It would be great to see. Are we going to do it? That's the question. I would say 90% of the population are dragging the other 10% off the cliff. And unfortunately, I don't see too many ways of stopping it now. So what my focus has really been is on trying to empower people so that we have some sort of spark of consciousness that makes it through to the other side. I've always been suggesting that people create time capsules and things and leave information behind so that those who come after know what happened. You notice they're destroying all the books for the AI. Have you looked at that?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many copies there are of these books, but they're chewing through plenty of them. I mean, if they get multiple copies of the same book because they need to chew through it, then, and I guess what with currency, the monopoly money that they manufacture, there's really no objective that they can't achieve because they've got everybody effectively as currency addicts for the reasons you were just talking about. There's a comment you'll have heard it loud, like they're making all this money, but you're right, they don't need it. They don't. I think their main goal is to ensure that you don't get sufficient to actually start being able to do some independent things that they would have more difficulty restraining you on. They don't want, if it's what we would do were we to have and not be in that situation of ongoing anxiety about the bill. The society is an anxiety society. It's a type of psychological warfare. It's completely unnecessary. And of course, they've got everybody believing, well, at least I'm free. Yeah, all right. I'm free. I live in a free democracy, that people will tell you. I've often thought, Max, that, prisons exist to make everybody who's not in prison think that they're not in a prison. I'm not. Well, you're not in that one. Yeah, you're not in that one. You're just in another one, but you're not looking because you can't, if you look at so-called what passes for education, and your rebellious nature at school would indicate this, they're not actually providing you with the information that you really need to develop as a human being. Why would we expect them to do that? We wouldn't, given what we know now. But, you'd think it might have been at some point in the past probably a good goal. Why don't we actually tell them about how currency works or how the law works? And I don't know about your education, but they didn't tell me one word about those things up until the age of 18. And you have to discover it all for yourself.
Yeah, currency and money is truly the root of all evil. I actually don't think we had that in the ancient world in the way we're dependent on it now.
No.
I think we had more of a guild-based society. I look at some of the incredible buildings through Europe, some of those incredibly ornate structures and churches and things. And I don't believe that churches were actually constructed as places of worship. I think they had a higher function. I think a lot of those buildings were actually functional. But the point is, people never would have created buildings of that beauty and that delicate detail if they were being paid by the hour. They were creating these buildings because they loved to build and they were artistic in what they did. And the more they could do it, the better they were at it, at their craft, whether it was building or whether it was building ships or whether it was making roads or whether it was, farming or whatever it was that people did. If they became really good at it and they would teach other people and have apprentices, then that would give them esteem in the community. And if you're a master builder, come to our community. Wow, this guy, he's a master builder. He built this incredible structure and he's trained 200 apprentices. So please come to our town. We'll give you a home. We'll give you food. We'll give you everything. Please train our children to be as good as you. And that's the way our society functioned. We used to trade skills with each other. I once had a book of receipts when I was younger, when I was about 20 years old. I lost it, unfortunately. But it was a book of receipts. It was like 100 years old, and it was like a notebook and like a leather-bound notebook. And it had recipes in it because a receipt was a recipe. There's only one letter different in recipe and receipt. And people used to trade recipes with each other. And like, for example, you might be someone who needed a fence built for your house and you didn't know how to build a fence. So I would come around and I'd build the fence for you. And in the process, I would show you how to build the fence. And in return, you would show me how to build a wagon wheel for my cart that I brought my tools around on because I needed a new wagon wheel. So we'd trade skills and would be a recipe for a wagon wheel, a recipe for how to build a bridge, a recipe for how to train a horse, a recipe for how to make a glue from 3 different trees, things like this.
Yes.
We traded in skills. That's the sort of society we had. And that's how we achieved all those incredible buildings and all those things that we did. There was nothing like what we have now. And money has put a stop to all of that because now it's all about collecting this stuff, which they've made it incredibly hard to get. And you have this barrier of paper that exists to keep you from the abundance that is all around you. And now they're taking it even more and they're turning that into a digital barrier, a non-existent virtual barrier around you. So you can't access the abundance that is all right there at your fingertips. Yeah, it's crazy. People have been led into a crazy world,
Yeah, from our perspective, you're right. It's crazy. From their perspective, it's obviously that they're made of different stuff. I don't know what they're made from. I don't really care to know, to be quite honest, although it might be useful from a tactical or strategic point of view. But they're committed to dominating all life. It's like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. It really is. I can't really put it any other way. It's been... some people say, well, it's very impressive what they've done. Well, not really. It's impressive from the point of view of the amount of cunning and deceit that they've employed, but this seems to come to them naturally. There's a culture within that space that does all these things. Going back to the buildings that you were mentioning as well, that whole thing about skill sets is that things were in the right order because the value was in people, which it actually always is and can only be in people in terms of what they can do and offer and provide service to others. And they've pushed that out. It's this middleman-itis has developed, and their control of the currency systems is the great weapon that they've wielded against us to effectively subdue people. Oh, you can't do that without a loan from the bank. Of course, when you then start looking into what the loan is, it's a nothing burger. And it's all, it's a whole sort of series of intimidation points up and down the line in your life so that you fear, you're induced with anxiety about the repayment of a debt. I mean, one of the interesting things over here, I don't know what the so-called national debt of Australia is. I think in the States it's something like $38 trillion, which is fun. And over here we're now at £3 trillion. The kicker, though.
I think it's 40 trillion, I think.
Yeah, lovely. That's great. But we've got guys around here on this station who are looking into this and elsewhere. That money, in our case, this £3 trillion, or that currency, I should say, because it's not money, this currency is actually owed to us. They need to pay it back to us. Now, knowing all these, the thing I think where the sticking point is, about in terms of what to do, like change your habits and don't use your phone is one part of it. But it's looking at, there's no shortage of truth in this space. There isn't a shortage of it. We've actually got an abundance of truths and very knowledgeable people who've tunneled into these things and come back. Getting that transmitted, though, to that 90%, and when you were saying that, I have this internal fight all the time is, should we be reaching out to the 90% or is this completely mad? Are you ever going to get them? And do we need them? Maybe we don't need, maybe we only need 5 or 6% of people switched on to act as that fulcrum, that pivot point to swing things around, because the crowd tend to follow when they see winners, I suppose, for want of a better word. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I don't even do shows designed to wake people up anymore. I try to just empower those people who are awake. And you're right, we don't need all the people to do it, and you never will. Like 90% of them are NPCs. They will never ever wake up. They will simply follow wherever they're led, and you could change the world and they wouldn't even notice. So there's no point in doing that. But it's getting the people that are awake motivated to actually do something, and all they really have to do is say no. Stand up together, and even there's a huge thing happening in Australia this on the 30th of August, and they're trying to take action against all this surveillance stuff that I was just telling you about, the fact that the cops want to clone your cell phone and all this sort of stuff, and the lack of free speech, everything that's happening in Australia. And there's going to be a big rally on August 30th, and I'll put in my last show, I'm saying, well, what are you going to do with the rally? What are you going to do? March to places in the city, and then what are people going to get up and give a big speech, and then you're all going to go home and feel like you've done something? Why don't you march to Canberra the way you did during COVID? Like 1.5 million people went to Canberra, and then the controllers leading the freedom movement in Australia told them all to go home. Okay, you've come here, you've made your point, go home now. And I'm going, no, don't go home. Hold these people's feet to the fire. There's 1.5 million of you here. Tell the politicians to come out and talk to you. And if they won't, then go to the Governor General and tell the Governor General you want to express a loss of confidence in the government. You want you want to express you want to have dissolve the government and replace it with people of integrity. So that's what you want. You can't just go to these rallies and offer lip service. I mean, they're taking your freedoms away. They've abdicated any privilege they had to govern these people. I mean, the Australian government, there was papers tabled in the Australian government 10 years ago saying that all these people were involved in pedophilia. We've seen what's going on with the Epstein files. This is the bottom line. I mean, look at what's come out with the release of the Epstein files, and look at what we've just witnessed in Gaza, the genocide of the people of Palestine. And there's no debating whether this is genocide. Look at some of the stuff that we've seen coming out of Israel. Ben Gvir the other day said, yes, I've made enormous strides for the country. I've passed a law whereby it is now legal to execute Palestinians. He didn't say Palestinian prisoners. He just said Palestinians. We're going to execute Palestinians. I'm building a facility to do it, and I've taken steps so it can be live streamed so the people in Israel can watch it live, watch the executions live.
I saw that.
And this is a major genocide. This is being funded by all of our politicians. They lied through COVID. They're funding the genocide of the Palestinian people, and we found out through the Epstein files that they all torture, rape, terrorize, and eat children. They've abdicated any privilege they ever had to govern. What on earth is keeping them in power? It's the fact that people don't believe in themselves and not prepared to call this out. They think there's a legal remedy to it. No, it's a puppet show. It's a theatric. It's like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz, okay? Why do people think that these parasites have any authority over them when they've abdicated any privilege they ever had to do that? We've got to stop calling them elites. They're not elites. They're parasites who've maneuvered themselves into a position of power and convinced everybody to believe that they have to pay to be alive. You know, you're living in a people farm. I've been saying this for 20 years. You're living in a people farm. They're harvesting children, millions of them every single year. This is what's going on. And they've created this whole system so people are running around on the treadmill, collecting paper and doing all this stuff that they think is important when it isn't. None of it's important. What's important is being the best you can at being you and exploring what that spark of consciousness actually means to exist. I don't even mean the best version of yourself. Just be you to the fullest of your potential. That's what you came here to do. And we've given all that away. And we're locked in this system where we believe we've got to ask permission to do everything. We've got to do this, run on the treadmill, collect paper, go and buy food from the trucks. You know, we're all truckatarians. No one knows how to look after themselves anymore. It's crazy. It's just insane. So when you see all this, I mean, what is the remedy? Sure, I can see the remedy. Stop using the tech, stop doing this. But there's like billions of people out there that simply aren't going to do that. And half of them, I mean, honestly, we're surrounded by idiots. We really are. I mean, look at what's going on in the Middle East, and look at what's going on like in India and Pakistan. And all, like, look at these people. Honestly, look at the mental state of the migrants that are coming into the country.
I know.
It's just crazy. Absolutely nuts. So what do? There's nothing we can really do. What we've got to do is hope that spark of consciousness makes it through to the other side. You know, this system's got to crash and burn. There's no way there's any repairing of this system, unfortunately. But that's the state of the world, brother. And it gets very difficult to try to come onto these shows and like offer something positive. And you have opportunities like this big march they're doing.
I thought you were doing quite well there. I thought that was quite positive. Holy moly.
But, yeah. There is like things like this big march to Canberra, which is great, but don't just stop there with the march and then offer lip service and go home. Use it to actually replace the government because they're all criminals. We have all the evidence we need to prove that. It's not even a negotiable point. They've abdicated their privilege to govern, tell them to get out of the building and replace them with people of integrity.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm talking more and more recently over the past few weeks with people over here who are looking at things such as, and look, and this is going into the document world, but it's their abuse of documents that's part of it, such as Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, the Act of Settlement. What's quite clear, for example, there's a lovely phrase, the redress of grievances. You've no doubt got it down there, which is really what courts, if you've got any courts, are supposed to be. But it turns out we don't have courts. We don't even really have, we, the people, do not have a police force that is there to safeguard the people. It's a private corporation. All of these things are being tunneled into. Of course, you end up with encyclopedias of detail because it's their sort of attack on us is encyclopedic. It's not new. It's just sort of coming to a fulmination here because of technology. They're on, they're probably on cloud 9 with their ability now to micromanage every single one of their cattle, which is the way that they view us. And I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, I've just really thought that we live on a tax farm. We're just there to be milked for tax. And nobody even knows why they pay it because it's clearly the case that you don't even need tax to run a nation. You don't need it. It's not there to run the nation. It's there to make sure that the purchasing power doesn't accumulate in the cattle. They don't want you being able to go off and do certain things that they don't regulate. Yeah, and there's always an intermediary. There's always a regulator or an authority, a human authority system that stands in the way of you being able to express and do things as a creative individual. And more people are probably creative than they know. It's just that they've never been given the opportunity to be that way for long enough to discover what their talents are, which is part of the great tragedy of the whole thing. I mean, it's a totally different, it's an irreconcilable view about how life should be conducted down here. It's irreconcilable. There's no, I mean, imagine maybe you have imagined, being called up to a meeting of these guys and having a chat with them? Do you think they would be able to comprehend any sentence that you say? I don't. I just, you would have an event where there would be the appearance of communication, but none would be taking place. None. Their ends,
You're talking about the rulers, the ruling parasites, or just the people in general.
The ruling parasites. Let's suppose you and I get invited to a meeting. We go to the United Nations. There'd be no point, would there?
They'd be looking fascinated at us that this parrot is so eloquent. Look how well this bird can talk. Look, this mouse is talking to me before I squash on him or whatever. It doesn't register. They don't care. If you said anything that actually exposed what they were doing, then they probably wouldn't let you leave. There's no point talking to them. They do what they do because it's what they want to do. And what's going on here, I said in my first film, World War III has already started. It's a war of depopulation. I've said all the cities and the fact that we're all truckatarians, we've all lost our life skills. In the last 100 years, the most remarkable thing that's happened and the most scary thing that's happened is a massive loss of life skills. We now live off food trucks. All of our industries have been taken offshore. All they've got to do, they've set up this whole system of international codependency where no one really knows how to do anything. All they have to do is shut down the supply chain, and we're gone. And we're being set up for a fall. And you look at what they've done. They've blocked off the Strait of Hormuz, all this bullshit war with Iran, which is all completely theatrical. And flooding the whole place with migrants. They're just going to shut it down, and things are going to happen, and society is just going to eat itself, basically. It's going to be crazy. And the whole system they've got, they're doing it deliberately. The whole thing is about depopulation. If you look at the guys with small hats who are carrying out the genocide in Gaza, their goal is to destroy Amalek. They're setting up enclaves everywhere. There's far, far more than 15 million of these people. There's at least 400 or 500 million, if not more. They're setting up huge enclaves in Ukraine, in Argentina, Baja Peninsula in Mexico. They've setting up a huge enclave in Pisac, Peru. They've got a place in New York State called Kiryas Yoel, where there are hundreds of thousands of them, and they're all having 13 or 17 to 18 children per family. They've done the same in Lakewood, New Jersey. They're setting up huge enclaves everywhere and cordoning off their own areas because they have to do it because of anti-Semitism. So we need our own police force. We need all this stuff to protect us because everyone hates us and blah, 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 all done by design. So that once society gets flooded with migrants and everyone starts, and the food shops shut down and everything, supply chain breaks down, it's just going to turn to chaos. And once that happens and they've got their stronghold in the middle of it, and they will rise as the ruling power in that region, wherever they are. And they're doing this everywhere, all over the world. So people need to pay attention. Their motto is, by way of deception, we shall do war. And this is how it's going on. It's a secret war that's been going on for at least the last 100 years, and it's culminating in this big final end game that they're running now. That's what's happening.
I think it's a bit longer than that, Max. I'd put it down to at least 3,000 years, and I think it's just it's morphed into a particular way. You use that word Amalek, and I don't know whether this is going to throw a wrench in your works, but they are Amalek. There's a great deceit taking place. It's a colossal deceit.
I agree.
I've got the whole sort of family trees going all the way back to 3,000 years on a big sort of chart, which is very, very useful. And you see where it comes in. And it's when I see some of these small hat, some of the speeches recently that fly across my desk from TikTok or wherever it is, these guys are just full of venom and spite. It's astonishing. And really they should be, if we did have a law that applied equally to everyone, ho, 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 they're effectively whipping up violence. There's no two ways about it. That's exactly what they're doing. And their language is the language of terrorism. There's no other way to describe it. I don't know whether, I suspect that some of them do know that, but maybe the bulk of them don't. And I put it down to a small cadre of super maniacs right in the heart of the thing that has probably caused more harm to the Jewish people than their supposed external enemies. And there are many, there are handfuls of good people from that community, handfuls, who've said as much, but can't say it because they get they get dealt with severely as well. It's like an orientation. They also,
It's only a handful is the problem.
It is.
I mean, Israel is stolen territory. It's Palestine. There is no Israel. It's a fraud. Anybody who believes in the state of Israel is either a misinformed fool or a psychopath, and there's no gray area in any of that. And that's unfortunate. And what we've seen recently, like people from all over the world have been flooding back to Israel to help it defend itself in the war. Well, there is no war. People are flooding back to Israel because they want the opportunity to be able to go and torture, kill, rape, and terrorize women and children and unarmed civilians and kill with impunity. They want to know what it feels like to have the power of life and death in their hands and to terrorize people with impunity. They're psychopaths. That's why they're going to defend Israel. Israel is not defending anything. Israel is an occupying force. And it's an entire nation of psychopaths, unfortunately. I mean, if you look at the schooling system, these people are raised to hate Africans, to hate all non-Jews, and they're taught that you must extract as much pain and torment. The more torment and pain you can extract from your enemy, and the more pleasure you can derive from that pain you cause them, then the more blessings will be bestowed upon you. This is why you got people like Ben Gvir torturing, like that doctor that they've had in there. They've tortured him for 560 days, every single day. And they want to hang him on TV. They want to do it all on TV and live stream it so the entire country can feel the pleasure of his death. It's part of their religious belief system. You don't have a that is working to live stream the execution of Palestinians that is a sane country. It isn't. These people are completely insane. They've given out drones to settlers, and these are armed drones, and the settlers are sitting in stolen Palestinian homes, flying their drones around, looking at widescreen TVs and chasing Palestinians. Just recently, there was a guy who shot a Palestinian baby through a window from his drone. The lady was sitting there breastfeeding a 10-day-old baby, and he shot that baby in the head from outside the window with his drone.
Yeah.
Test to see who's the best shot for the day. One day you'll have all the children will come in with headshots. The next day they've got all throat shots. The next day they've got all heart shots. They're playing games. This is the way they treat the Palestinians. And they get an enormous amount of pleasure from this. And they've got 10,000 prisoners in their jail. They keep them in stress positions all day. They make them sleep in stress positions. They duck walk them, zip tie their hands behind their back and bend them over double to walk between cells. It's got to be now. Ben Gvir was saying that when an Israeli walks into a Palestinian prisoner's cell, the Palestinian prisoner now starts shaking, pissing himself and crying as soon as the Israeli walks in. And he said, this is very good. Whatever your guards are doing to the prisoners, you need to keep it up. This is the mentality of the Israeli population. And 90% of the people actually support this. This race, this nation, they had riots because soldiers who raped prisoners to death got charged for rape, and they had riots demanding that they respect the soldiers' right to rape the prisoners to death. It's insane what is going on in Israel. They have prisoners raped by dogs. They had 300 infants, toddlers, with their hands zip tied behind their backs, dropped into a grave and bulldozed over. They were all buried alive. It's the only state on earth that has a military prison for children. Okay, so anybody who is supporting the state of Israel is either a misinformed fool or a psychopath, and anybody who is supporting that state has no right to be sitting in any position of power or any position that may affect the lives of any other people. That's the bottom line. We need to deal with this. The only people who will is us.
Yeah, I saw something in a similar sort of vein of that. I think a guy with a broken leg, they'd reset his leg so that as it mends, the foot will be pointing backwards. They thought this was hilarious. It's just it's not even, we can't even comprehend it. I mean, this has been one of our blind spots, I suppose, although it's one of our virtues, is that we tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, obviously in this case far too far. But I think, the reason why they don't get any kickback is that they have managed to tunnel into all of the main power centers in, let's call it the West, or Christendom, or whatever you want to call it. We know what we're referring to. And that's why most of the people that are in there are effectively, they're just agents. I mean, we are, I view England as an occupied nation.
They're all occupied. They've done it through the money system. See, we've got everybody dependent upon money, and so therefore the politicians have to do what they're told. And all the Epstein stuff, they've got dirt on all of them. Like all of these people, if they're in a position of power anywhere in the world, then they've got dirt on them. Being a politician, if you're going to be a politician and actually get elected to office, there is a prerequisite. You need to be a barefaced liar. You need to be able to look at normal, everyday, decent people and tell them barefaced lies with absolutely no remorse for the damage and hardship you're going to cause them. And if you cannot do that, you will never be elected to office. And the people who can generally do that are people who have been caught terrorizing, raping, and eating children. That's what the club is. So they've got dirt on every one of these people. Otherwise, they would never be put into a position where they have any power over anybody else. That's what people have to understand. You're living in a people farm. All of it's theater. It's all theatrics, and they keep all this stuff going on and arrest this and arrest that and traffic offenses and all this stuff to keep you busy so you'll never deal with them. That's what it's about.
Do you fancy a little break for a song?
Absolutely. I would like that. Actually, I'll go to the bathroom.
We'll have a little break for a song. This is a Van Morrison song called They Own the Media. We're going to be back after this. About 3 minutes. That should give you plenty of time, Max. And we'll come back with more happy information on the other side of this song. Okay, so we'll be back after this, everybody.
They tell us that ignorance is bliss. I guess for those that control the media it is. They own the media, they control the stories we are told. If you ever try to go against them, you will be ignored, 'cause they control the narrative, they perpetuate the myth. Keep on telling you lies, tell you ignorance is bliss. Believe it all and you'll never get wise to the truth, 'cause they control everything you do, everything you do, everything you do, everything you do. Perpetuate the myth. Keep on selling you lies, tell you ignorance is bliss. Believe it all and you never get the truth, never get wise to their lies, they control the media, they control the media, they control the media, they control the media.
Van Morrison with They Own the Media. We're full of cheery, positive news tonight, aren't we? I hope you're all okay out there. Sometimes it requires a strong dose of reality, I think, to creep into the show, and we're certainly getting one tonight with Max. Let me just check to see if he's returned. Have you returned, Max? Not yet. Almost. That was good. Well, that lent atmosphere to the broadcast, so we quite like that. That was good. Pitch black here now. Nights are drawing in, so maybe as it gets darker, we've certainly had a bit of a dark tone there for the last 20 minutes. I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm sure many of you are already aware of the scale and of the horror and all that kind of stuff. We've still got to look after our own bailiwick, though, because I don't know what else we're supposed to actually focus on. We've really got to look at the home front and really sort all that kind of stuff out. So anyway, I'm just been looking at chat. Sorry, oh, hi. Welcome back. Relief in seconds, lasts for hours,
it is
right?
Dark stuff. By the same thing, it's important. It's important that people notice, you know. So, and there's no real way to sugarcoat it. The first 10 years I was on air, I was doing all this spiritual stuff trying to empower people. But now we are in a state of clear and present danger. And we hold all the cards if people just choose to stand. But anyway, I digress. Continue.
Yeah, no, I think... Well, I've had a few conversations. I have a lot of conversations, you know, off air during the day, every day of the week with people that are, you know, as you just do. Some of them will be good enough to turn into shows, apart from all the F-bombs that crop up. So it makes it a bit awkward. But I mean, recently, just looking at the law, I mean, I feel, you know, as an Englishman, right, we don't have any say in our affairs over here. Currently, I've got to sort of phrase these back to myself in a kind of positive way, because I think you can just get consumed by that darkness if you don't watch it. It's like staring into the abyss. If you look into it too long, you fall in. And I'm not, although
sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't, brother. Sometimes if you look into the shadow, if you look into the abyss, what you find is the beauty in yourself. What you find is the power in yourself. I look into all this stuff and I have no stake in the outcome of any of it. If the human race destroys itself, it's not my problem. I offered a better way. But it was looking into the shadow and looking into the abyss that I was able to see the brightness of the light within myself.
Yes.
Now, sometimes it doesn't reflect the shadow at all. Sometimes it empowers you. And like, I think we've been trained to think this way, that you should not look too long at the shadow in case you fall in. I mean, you can get incredibly angry looking at this, but there is such a thing as wholesome, righteous anger that can be funneled into something really positive. I mean, if I wasn't full of wholesome, righteous anger and hadn't been filled with that for years, I never would have been able to make all the positive differences I've made and reach all the people that I've managed to reach and do all the stuff that I've managed to do. So I think it just depends on how you look at these things, brother.
No, it's a really good point. It is. I think in my early days, when I sort of bumbled into things that appalled me, I just had anger and thrived on it, to be quite honest. It was the best I could do. So I just had a lot of anger. You go through certain things in life. There's certain things you just can't control and you get humbled by them. And although at the time they don't feel so good, when they're kind of over or you're moving on to the next chapter, you feel stronger for it. It's like growing up. It's actually much more painful than they let you know when you were a kid. It's, you know, if you really want to grow, it is. It just is. It comes with a territory, really.
Yeah, well, the problem is most people are scared of their own power. They're scared of actually ever standing up and being counted. I mean, I'm of the opinion that ultimately I came here to die. That's a given. That's something that I'm going to do. That's the only way you get out of this realm. Like Jim Morrison said, no one here gets out alive.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're living in is a people farm, and the corridors are getting narrower and narrower, and we're having to walk between the lines more and more and do what we're told more and more. And we do this because we're in fear of ever standing up in case someone hurts us and we die or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we came here to die anyway, you know. And I'm of the opinion that if you comply with legislation which causes you to step outside your moral compass, every time you do something that you know is wrong, and you're outside your moral compass in doing that act, then you give away a little bit more of your soul. Yes. Now, I've managed to get through my life. I mean, I'm 69 next month, and I've managed to get through my life without ever paying any taxes, without ever participating in the system at all. as soon as I could see what was going on, I kind of stepped off the school stage and got into rock and roll bands and things and started doing that, working cash in hand and just then selling art and doing all sorts of stuff. I always sort of lived outside of the system. And I'm 69 next month. I have no debt.
Well done.
You know, I don't really own much, but I live a really transient lifestyle and I don't really want to own much. So, you know,
ownership's an interesting idea, don't you think? The idea of ownership. I mean, given
it's
that
crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
Even when I've been like back in the old days when all the sovereignty stuff and the little games we used to play with the cops when you were able to do that and they weren't as brutal as they are now. And they'd ask me, is this your object? Is this your thing? Is this your car? Is this? And I'd say, well, no, we're just sharing space. You know, I don't actually own anything. I use things and they're here now, but I don't own them because, like, you know, I can't possibly own this, like, you know, whatever it is, this axe or this hammer or this toolbox because it's going to outlive me. So how do I own it? You know, it's like people thinking they can own the earth. The earth's been here for 4.6 billion years. You're here, if, you know, 100 if you get a good innings and do the math. You don't own shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's the thing I used to say to people, when you buy a piece of the earth, then it owns you. You can't travel. You can't do the things you want to do in life because this thing owns you and you've got to sit there and you've got to pay for it for the rest of your life. If you think you own the block of land you live on, then why do you have to pay rates and keep paying things for it every year? If you think you own it, stop paying your rates and see how long you actually own that for. You know, you don't. It's temporary. The whole thing's temporary. This is a temporary existence. So why do people spend the time they've got in this temporary existence doing what other people tell them to do? It doesn't make any sense to me. It never did. It never could. That's why I've just always done what I wanted to do. And I've managed to stay out of jail for my whole life and just bump around. I've been around the world more times than I can count, you know, and it's cheaper for me to do that than it is to live anywhere.
I'm impressed with your completely non-tax-paying history. Mine's since 1990. I've not participated at all. But I did for about 10 years. I've mentioned here before, when I got that first tax return thing through when I was about 18, I didn't like the look of the envelope, so I threw it in the bin, and my mum went a bit potty with me. What are you doing? I said, I don't want to know about that.
Well, that's the whole thing. You can get into the whole name thing and stuff as well, like your name in all capitals and all this. I mean, it's not you. You're opening someone else's mail. It's not addressed to me. Why am I going to open this, you know? That's why I've always looked at it, and I've just never participated in that system. I wouldn't even know how to fill out a tax return. And how's this as well? Like under the legal system that is in both of our countries, you are not required to testify against yourself or say anything or fill out any form that may incriminate you. And yet they tell you that if you fill your tax return out wrong, you can be arrested for it. Well, you're asking me to fill out a form that I could incriminate myself by filling it out if I fill it out wrong. So therefore, I'm not legally obligated to fill it out under your law, am I?
Of course, it is their law, or it's their colour of law, their thing that's masquerade. It's why, it is. I mean, and going back to ownership, I mean, the word I tend to prefer is stewardship. I go, well, I've got an innings here. I'm going to have an innings. I don't know when it will come to a close, hopefully gloriously with a 6 or something like that, you know. But I'm going to have an innings, and whilst I'm alive, there are certain things that are useful to me, which I'm happy to be a steward of. Of course, you realise that every single thing, substantial thing in your life, such as the house and the car, which are the most substantial things, I think, still that most people buy or think they've bought, they all come with these permanent strings attached, which didn't used to exist. I mean, it's, you know, we look back on, we talk about merry old England, and just going back to that, there was a period that was merry. Of course, they paint it as bad, but it's not true. That church building period over here coincided with life where people were working 26 weeks a year and feeding their wife and their children. That's what they were doing. And the other 26 weeks of the year, because there wasn't usury around to the degree that there is now, there were still private operators, of course, you know, ripping peasants off. There's nothing new about that. But that gave them the time and the energy to commit to building something beautiful, which is so satisfying for those of you that do that sort of thing. And if you don't, you've got to find, even painting, anything at all to have that creative side of yourself develop. Of course, schools don't do that, do they? They create a robotized mind that's all completely left-brained, or is it right-brained? I can't remember. No, it's left-brained, which is where all the logic is. All the logic centers, you know, and you need those. I'm not against them. I mean, you do need them. They're actually, you're going to need them currently to get through, deftly to try and deal with the agents of death or whatever we want to call them. But the creative side, you know, I've got a wonderful book on my shelf about drawing. And when I was younger, I wanted to draw, and I decided after about 3 years of this that I really didn't have the inherent talent to do it. Or the patience to sit down for hours on end and wear my backside out, you know, just drawing away, even though I loved doing it. And it's kind of a meditative space that you go into. But I got a book called, I've got it somewhere still kicking around on the bookshelves, called Drawing with the Right-Hand Side of the Brain. And it's got a series of exercises in it. They are like meditation. They're phenomenal. I ended up using some of these techniques over a sort of 3-month period. I've still got the drawings, and they shocked me when I looked at them. Like one of them was to draw an object upside down. One of the problems with the brain is that the left-hand bit keeps jumping in really quick and names everything on a face. Oh, that's a nose, that's a mouth. I know what they look like. And it takes control of your hand almost. You don't realize it's doing that. It's not literally like that. But basically, it's the dominant part. And you end up, and, you know, I always remember my mum and dad drawing, oh, that's rubbish. And they'd be throwing it in the bin, you know, because it wasn't good. It didn't represent things. When you switch into that other state, though, you can draw anything. Anybody can draw. If you can write your name, you can draw. But, of course, they don't encourage that at school. And that develops this other side of your creative powers. It's as if we've got considerable creative powers that have been, of course, thoughtfully by the other side suppressed, particularly since the Industrial Revolution, you know, when they robotized people to go into factories and all this, that and the other, because that was the system that they were bringing in, all that kind of stuff. And, I talk a bit about Dickens around here because he was really talking about the ruin of the peasant class over here in circumstances like that. It makes for great melodrama or drama because much of it is true. I mean, he saw much of it in the courts. So as a group of people, we've been preyed upon for a long time. It's just the form of it has changed. But there was a period, I do think there was a period when it was merry old England. I have to subscribe to that at least, Max. It's hopeful in the best way. Not hopeless, but hopeful in the sense that we have been able to organise our affairs in line with the moral and ethical law. And for us as a people here, I do see that as our top priority. We, you know, all these things about law, we have to get back to it. It's not even a choice.
There's really only one law, though, brother. There's only one law, and that is do no harm.
Yes.
Anything that they write on paper and you believe is law is not really law. It's just their legislation. And even if we go back to things like the Magna Carta, well, under their law, the Magna Carta was signed under duress.
Yes.
So how lawful is it? We've got to get back to, you know, God's law, which is do no harm. Don't step outside your moral compass. That's the law. That's the only law you need. Integrity has no need of rules, you know. But they've done so much to manipulate us psychologically through the whole system. It's a complete mindfuck. Everything we do is done that way. It's all black and white, and it's all trained to keep us divided, keep our left and right brain divided, keep us divided from everybody else. Actually, I've got someone just walked into the room. Do you want to have a couple of words? I've actually got a dear friend who spoke at Liverpool last weekend.
Right.
Who I dragged along to actually have a speaking slot.
You have a dear friend, Max. This is fantastic.
I do have a friend. Actually, it's surprising, isn't it? I actually have a friend. And she's a psychologist. And
put her on. Yeah, bring her into the show.
Psycho the rapist, you know? Psychotherapist.
Yeah.
And do you want to come and say hello? Do you want to chime in on this conversation, Ivana? I think you would do well.
Oh, my God, Max. I didn't expect this.
It's
a surprise. Max is full of surprises today.
There's this beautiful Croatian accent.
I just came to visit Max, and now he put me on the spot. Good evening from
Good
Sada,
evening. Now
right?
we're all hypnotized by your accent because Max has pointed it out, and it is delightful. So I don't know what I'm supposed to say now.
Thank you very much.
But she could probably give you a bit of insight on how, like, psychologically deranged society is and how it's come about and what a possible solution might be. This is not a lot to put on you.
Is he setting you up?
Now? I just came to have a cigarette here with him, you know, and suddenly I'm speaking, I don't even know to who. What's your name again?
It's Paul. I'm Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Paul. I'm Ivana.
Hi, Ivana.
Yeah, we just spent some time in Liverpool in Apatin in Serbia a few days ago. And I also had a speech there, which was my first time ever to speak on this type of international conference.
Right.
And my topic actually was conscious rebellion, why the inner freedom is the most radical act of our time. And I think, Max, this actually, I was listening. I was listening to what you were talking.
Having this inner freedom is exactly what I've been talking about. Is because we're not standing up for ourselves because we don't believe in ourselves, because we think somehow that we've got rulers and all these people are pedophiles, and they like, what are we doing? You know,
because we were conditioned
it's crazy.
Since we came out of mother's womb, we were conditioned to believe in such a way. And
I'm going to let Ivana speak to you for 5 minutes while I go make a cup of tea. Tell him, Ivana.
Make me one while you're at it.
Yeah.
Is this recording or it's going live?
It's live.
It's live and it's recording. It's everything. You're going to be all over the world after this, Ivana.
Oh my goodness me!
Yeah, don't worry. There's millions listening. I like to big it up. That's not true, okay? But in my imagination, it's true. The whole world is listening to us right now. So don't be
all
put
right.
off.
Hello, world. All right. So, what was the topic? Would you like me to?
Psychologically controlled and the psychological, how to get out, the solution of what you were saying.
Oh yes. So basically, what I was talking about in Apatin was first I brought a little bit of this whole background of different ancient traditions talking about different energy parasites that's been feeding on humans' energy. Depends how you want to look at it.
She pointed out that there are different traditions. Like there's people in different societies that have all pointed out that, hey, there's this psychological problem going on, and we've never addressed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, in history.
Right. In history, yes. And, if you look into Buddhist traditions, and you probably all know about Maras, these parasitic creatures that are feeding on human awareness and energy. And then, you have Rakshas in Hindu tradition. Then you have different type of demons in Christianity. Then you have genes in Islam. Then you have Vetiko in a Native American tradition, a spiritual a virus that actually feeds on human consciousness. And also, you have the concept that was brought up in Castaneda's books about flyers, those parasitic creatures that are feeding on human energy as well. So there are heaps of them through different traditions talking about the same thing. And, you can take it as you want. Is this just a kind of archetypal thing, or is it a real thing, or is just a mythological thing? Doesn't matter. I really believe more and more that actually these parasites are actually there, real.
Yes.
And since I was little, I kind of started to believe that humans are not on top of the human. On top of the food chain.
Really?
So, yeah. Well, yes.
I tend to agree.
It was a tough realization, especially when I got myself more into the whole thing about the archons, and how they call them deceivers, like masters of deceiving. Yes. So once when you dig deep down that rabbit hole, for a lot of people, including myself, you reach the point when you don't know where to go anymore, what to hold on anymore, because whatever direction you look at, you realize that everything's just a archonic game, regardless on what type or on what side of the pendulum you are. Are you on the side of the quotation good or evil, but they're feeding regardless where you're standing at, and that's a trippy realization when you start to think about it. But not to talk only about the negativity of this reality that we live in and this whole matrix system that we are stuck on. In my speech I always also mentioned blueprint for solution that actually ancient sages brought up a long time ago, and that solution actually exists. So I mentioned, which I found quite interesting, that you all know about Lao Tzu, who was ancient Chinese sage, the author of Tao Te Ching. And he lived approximately 2,500 years ago. And at the same time, 2,500 years ago, we also had this famous inscription that was written at the entrance inside a temple in Delphi in ancient Greeks that said, know thyself, which again was, a statement that was mentioning importance of self-examination 2,500 years ago. And also the Gautama Siddhartha, the Buddha, he was also talking that, mastering your mind is the most important thing, same as Lao Tzu, who said that, mastering others is not as important as mastering yourself. So basically what those sages around same time, long time ago, even though they lived far away from each other, they all came to the same concepts and conclusions that actually self-mastery is definitely a blueprint for protection from these forces that are external and feeding of us. And what I found interesting is that, probably those sages of ancient times thought that one day in 2,500 years in future, modern men will be amazingly enlightened, because if they came up to those conclusions, who knows how the world will look in the future. But unfortunately here today, when you stop a random person on the street and ask them about self-mastery, or if you ask them like, what is a powerful person to you? They don't have a clue. What do you think by that? I in my therapy rooms, I work mostly with adolescents, and they come to me and I ask them question like to tell me, what does a powerful man look to them? What is a powerful man? And they look at me and they say, well, powerful man, that's someone who obviously has lots of money or lots of fame, influence, able to rule over other people. So they all see power as something external. But very, very few of them actually come to the conclusion, as Lao Tzu was talking about, that actually the real power is to rule and control over your own mind, over your own thoughts and your own energy. So that's kind of a bit of a background I was bringing up, and people of course wanted to know about the solution. What can we do today in terms of protecting ourselves from those external things? Because the latest problem that we have is also artificial intelligence that operates pretty much in the same principle as those archonic ancient forces, and it does the same thing. It feeds on our cognitive power, it feeds on our emotions, on our focus, on our attention. It completely feeds on every aspect of our energy, regardless how we give that energy. So the question
is, a vampire sect. It's vampiric.
It's full on. It's full on. Yeah. And when you look the world that we live in, pretty much everything's designed to keep us outside of our bodies, especially with this, extreme digitalization and screens everywhere. So wherever you look, every image just takes your focus away from yourself. And when I used to say often, that we became a society of walking heads, which means that we are operating from the neck up and we are completely detached from our bodies. And what does that mean? That means when you're not connected with your body, you're not connected with your emotions, you're not connected with your impulses, with your instincts, you're not actually connected with your inner compass. And therefore, your ability for critical thinking is drastically reduced. And your intuition is almost, doesn't exist, And intuition, if you think about it, is a concept that is extremely important in terms of our self-defense. It's actually a defense mechanism that we used for thousands of years. You know, we relied on our gut instincts and our intuition. But today, because we are attacked from so many different directions, from the air, from the food, from the frequencies, our bodies are attacked to that degree that we can't even connect anymore to our bodies. Therefore, our intuition became a big question mark to a lot of people. And people, as I said, lost their capacity to critically think for themselves. And of course, who gains out of it? The one in the positions of power. So I don't want to take too much time. I could talk about this.
You're not taking too much time. This is amazing stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
but what
yeah.
but what I would like to say just to people, because this is very interesting. And when you get your thought, because I lived in Australia for almost 20 years and I worked as a psychotherapist in Australia. My practice was called REBEL Psychotherapy. It stood for Reclaim Energy, Balance, Ego, Love. And I got inspired by that famous quote of Albert Camus, who said that I rebel, therefore I exist. And as soon as I've heard that quote strongly resonated with me. And I came to actually conclusion that the most powerful act of rebellion is that self-mastery that ancient sages were talking about. And now when I moved back to Croatia, which is a little bit, not too much, but still a little bit behind the Western world in terms, you know, when it comes to this type of inner works and work on themselves, because people here still look at psychotherapy or psychoanalysis with a lot of cautious, and the whole thing about psychotherapy is still a bit stigmatized here in Croatia. So yeah. I kind of made it makes sense to me why psychology in general and psychoanalysis and Jung and Freud, when they went to America for the first time, were not received with the open hands, is because actually any type of inner work that helps individual to get themselves in balance, to help them to connect with themselves, is direct threat to the establishment. Because if you in control with your own emotions, with your own thoughts, with your own energy, then you can't be controlled by external forces. So they did everything possible to demonize psychotherapy and deep inner work, because that doesn't serve them. And then that takes us, you know, to one of the books that I would hardly recommend to all your listeners to read, because I'm finding it as one of the most important books ever written. That's the book called The Rape of the Mind by Just Merleau. He was a Dutch psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who actually explained all different techniques how the establishment manages to mind control people. And one of his famous quotes that I often quote is the one that says that tools of psychology are extremely dangerous in the hands of dangerous people. And that's what I'm exactly doing today. You know, back in the old days, you would always have a king or some ruler who would have their own magician or a priest who would play as advisors. But today, these people in position of power, they have their own psychologists and behavioral psychologists, you know, about Tavistock and all these institutes that actually monitoring human behavior, just for them to know how to predict humans' behavior. And I'm going to finish with another quote. So in terms of solution, I'll quote Viktor Frankl, famous psychologist, who said that between stimulus and between reaction, there is a space. And that space, within that space, is our freedom, which means that we can't control any external influence. We can't control anything that's been put on us from those in positions of power. But we always have power and control in our own hands to actually choose how we are going to respond to those stimulus. The thing is, that involves deep inner work. So every person, every individual, this is not anymore matter of collectivism, because we did a lot of work over the last 20 plus years trying to make people aware about external forces that are actually doing us damage. Now we really, each one of us has to turn within, and we all have to pull our sleeves up, look ourselves in the mirror, put the night armor on ourselves, because that is not an easy walk in the park. As I said to my client, you can't expect you're going to do deep work and it's going to be all gentle and flowery. No, it's very hard work. And that's why a lot of people avoid to do it, because, it's for lots of people, it's scarier to actually look themselves in the mirror and dig deep within themselves than actually to deal with the noise of external world. And that's why, they come to see me. I offer some serious shadow work and they say, no, thank you. I'm not ready for doing such a thing. And that goes directly. That goes directly as in service of the people in position of power, because when people refuse to do deep inner work to get to know themselves, that space between stimuli and reaction stays very, very small. As less you know yourself, that space between stimulus and reaction gets really, really small, which means when that space is small, your reactions are more reactive. And when your reactions are reactive, which means that you react immediately without taking few breaths in and deal from within your body, not from your head, your behavior becomes predictable. And that's actually how they are managing to control us on a collective level, because predictive programming, movies, everything that we are exposed to are actually just a big testing ground for people in position of power, so they can predict how masses are going to behave. That's why I'm repeating this one more time. Every single person has to take this very serious. They have to start dig deep within themselves and do some serious deep shadow work, and try to expand that space between stimuli and reaction as longer, the bigger as it's possible. Okay, I hope this made sense. I said everything in one go, and I think I'm done for now.
You said it very well. That was that was tremendous stuff. It reminded me, of course, when I've inquired in that area, and then I stop. Maybe other people are the same. I've spent time in the past sort of tunneling into that area, and then I stop for a while, and then the world distracts me. And of course, you look for good causative reasons in the outside world to try and find something worthwhile and honorable to do, which I probably, I've spent a lot of time trying to do that on a personal level, and no doubt others are similar to that. I think there was a phrase from, it might have been Socrates, but one of those old guys, it might not have been him, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I've always quite liked that one.
Exactly.
And it is about that. And it's like, where do you get into this stuff like when you were younger, like, where are my thoughts coming from? And then you get into, are they my thoughts, or are they something else? Or am I just a big, photocopying machine? And to some degree we are, because you mimic and copy certain things until they go wrong and you hurt your fingers or whatever you do. And then you go, I better stop. I mean, it's this opportunity to learn from your own direct experience that's being reduced all the time, because we've got to be put into this system according to the would-be controllers of this world. And the archons I'm kind of familiar with. I think St. Paul talked about those, didn't he? And he's not the only one.
That's right,
He did, yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned it here the other week. I came across a thing about cats the other day. Pussycats, about cats, which was really interesting. And it was to do with something similar. It was, according to the narrative, let's put it that way, that we were built by the Anunnaki, according to this narrative. So let's just accept that for now. And there was a researcher from England over in, I think it was Massachusetts or somewhere, in the early 1970s, and she was very good at translating Sumerian tablets, that kind of thing, and she came across a box that had been there since about 1920. They had thousands of these boxes, and none of them had been translated, and she opened one up, so it'd been sitting there for 50 years, and she translated this set of tablets and produced an article which was initially accepted by a couple of academic journals and then rejected. And the story, in simple terms, was that our creators, according to this narrative, I'm not saying I go with this, but they saw that the creatures that they had built, us, were plagued with terrors and fears and anxieties, and were in a horrible state and were becoming dysfunctional. So they brought, according to this text, they brought cats to the earth, which is a very interesting idea. And the cats act as guardians against these external forces. And the cat can see into a different dimension. And of course, the cat's venerated in Egyptian culture for exactly the same reasons, that it can see in the dark what to us is the dark. And that they became guardians of their human owners and carers. It's slightly off beam from what you're saying, but it kind of reminded me of that with what you're talking about in terms of looking at what defense mechanisms we can get, you know. Can you just tell them to bugger off? Just bugger off in the name of God. Listen, bugger off and leave us alone, you know.
And also another thing, you know, I mentioned how they're masters of deceiving. And, you know, there is still one thing that we have to keep reminding ourselves of, and that is the free will. And these forces, those parasites, call them as you want, you know, they are amazing tricksters. So whatever they do, you know, they somehow makes us forget that we still do have free will.
That's what I was saying before. It's all on us.
Yes, and very important thing is, I'll never forget, like I had a situation in my life and it bothered me for quite a long time. I used to get those panic attacks out of nowhere. Let's say, you know, I'm by myself in the house, cleaning house, and then suddenly from my toes all the way up through my whole body, I would just start to shake and feel this enormous fear, like someone was inside the space, but I couldn't see anyone. And that would come just out of nowhere. And it was going on for a couple of years and at the time I lived in Australia, in Sydney. And until one afternoon, I was vacuuming. I was in a good space, good zone, was listening some music. And then suddenly that fear came again. And it was enormously strong fear. But for the first time ever, I actually screamed out of my lungs. I'm going to swear now a little bit, but this is what I said. Yeah, yep. I said, like, you know what? Fuck off. You don't have a right to be here. You don't have my permission to be here. So fuck off. And I screamed that few times. And since then, never again I experienced that type of panic attack. Never again. Yep. So whatever that was and what was related around it, you know, that moment of acknowledgement that, you know, that could be someone in my presence that, you know, is not, doesn't have permission from me to be there. And you address that doesn't have permission, actually worked out. And it was...
I was talking about Pan the other day, remember? In our
that's
drive,
right.
Pan.
That's right.
You aware of the myths of Pan?
Some of them, yeah. Is there a particular point? Yeah, I am. Yeah, the myths of Pan. Anyway, look, great meeting you. Yeah, and well done, Max, for roping.
Yes, I just want to say,
you know... Is it Eva?
Ivana.
I nearly got it. Sorry.
Ivana. Yes. So I'll leave you with Max. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share a few
Thank you, Ivana.
And yes, good luck with everything. Ciao.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, she's worth talking to, huh?
Yeah, you've got some interesting people in your flat whilst you're making tea. This is good.
Well, she came to visit. One of my Croatian friends, I knew her in Australia, and it's one of the reasons I ended up in Croatia. So, yeah. And I just happened to be here at the right time when I felt like a cup of tea. And I thought that would be good. I'll just throw her on the spot here and put her on an international radio show.
Yeah, this is how we do it. It's good. It's cool. I like that. She's got
a lot of good ideas. She's got a lot of knowledge in that beautiful head of hers.
Yeah.
And you get to listen to that wonderful voice as well.
Yes, it is. Okay. So, I don't want to bang on about it. You're absolutely right. It is.
Yeah, we were talking about Pan the other day. Yeah, we were talking about Pan, like when we were going to Liverpool, I was talking about Pan, how Pan is the force in the uncertain space between any event, like between the light and the dark. Pan exists between the field and the forest. And that sudden panic or that sudden urge, that sudden lust, or that sudden desire that seems unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
This is Pan. This is, and I think because and like Pan is the wild twin that we all have. That it comes out when we're teenagers and when we're young people. We go out and we party, we do these radical things, and as we get older, we believe we need to act more properly, and so we suppress these wild urges that everybody still has. It's like, Peter Pan told you never to grow up. You know what I'm saying? So once we grow up, we suppress this wild twin, and then you get people get to like 40 or 50 or 60, and I'll call it like a midlife crisis or whatever, where they just come out of their shell and do all this, radical stuff because they've kept it suppressed all their life. And it's like our society has been taught to repress this wild twin part of ourselves, which is often the most expressive part of ourselves, which, creates art and all sorts of stuff. And because we've suppressed it, you look at Western society now, it's like Pan controls all of Western society. You've got OnlyFans, you've got porn going rife, war, what the Israelis are doing in Gaza, all of this, like just letting it all out, all this repressed human tension, because we never were able to balance the good and the dark, the light and the shadow. We always suppress the wild twin, and so now it just has to come out. And I was discussing this with her in the car the other day, the loss of the mythological tales, because there was a lot in these mythologies. Like when I was a kid, and I used to read Greek mythology, and the story of Odysseus, and horrifying seeing what Christopher Nolan just did to that story. Oh my God.
No, I'm going to start vomiting. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Man, he told 10% of the story, and he didn't give you. It was horrible, absolutely freaking horrible. He had an opportunity.
I'm not watching it. I can't go and watch it. I know they say you're not supposed to prejudge a thing, but I've looked at it and going,
horrible.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not wasting my time watching that crap.
If you respect Greek mythology, do not go and see the Odyssey. Honestly, it is an insult. But I think there's a lot in a lot of those tales, and I think the loss of that sort of storytelling in our society. I mean, stories are very powerful things, and people don't tell stories anymore. And I think
I completely agree. Yeah, absolutely. I bang on about it every now and again. I just think reading is a really good. It's like a Western form of meditation to read. I mean, I know everybody does. Well, they used to. I know they do argue that people are reading more, but it's in little blurbs. It's little sort of 15-word sentences, and so you've got to be able to sit down and concentrate all these things. I mean, I'm plowing through
post on fucking Instagram or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm currently reading some old books that I like, adventure books. I won't go into it. It's almost like sort of embarrassing, but they're fantastic. I read them when I was a teenager, and I've just been reading them again, and I go back to being a teenager. It's like I remember everything, what it was like when I was 15, because it's the same stories, and I'm just going, oh, this is great. Exactly. And I just, it's wonderful. It's a lot of magic. It's timeless. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, I remember there was a certain feeling I used to get when I first read Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get the same feeling when I first listened to Led Zeppelin 2. Gave me that same feeling as what I got when I listened to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, man.
And I can
well, I'm cut from the same cloth. It's exactly the same. You're speaking for me here. I know exactly what you mean. You still there, Max? We seem to have lost you momentarily.
How about now? Am I there now?
Yeah. It was only for a few seconds.
Okay, sorry, I pushed a button on this new microphone that I didn't know was there.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Right, so this is good. You've cheered me up.
I used to read some of the Winnie the Pooh poems, some of the A.A. Milne stories.
Oh yeah,
there's a book I got when I was 6 years old by A.A. Milne, poetry book called Now We Are Six.
Yes.
I can still recite some of the poems of that book, and I can still listen to some of the music I listened to when I was a teenager. And when I put that music on, I can smell what I smelt that day when I first heard that music, and I can taste it. The internet and video clips and all this sort of stuff has taken all that away. It's taken all personal input into art away from the listener or the viewer.
Yes.
Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What is a good piece of art? Well, it's that which makes you feel something. Doesn't matter what it is. Someone might look at that and think that's just a bland nothing, and someone else might look at it and think it's the most incredible thing they've ever seen because of the way it makes them feel inside. And it's the same with music. But the advent of video clips and MTV and all this sort of shit took that personal input away from people in regard to music, and also in regard to literature, because now it's all on tablets. You don't get the smell of the pages and the feel of the pages and the physical.
You're talking to a convert here. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what's happened to humanity. This is what's taken so much of people's humanity away from them without them realizing it. They're caught in this virtual world. They're looking at screens all day. And nothing that they're viewing is real. And even in trying to deal with all this, I mean, like I said earlier in the interview about people making time capsules and things like that, I think it's really important that we do stuff like this. I think there's a very good reason why the people of ancient times carved all their information into stone and they used pictograms, because they could be understood. Try writing down diaries of what's going on in the world today, writing in English, and see who's going to understand that 1,000 years from now. You know?
Yeah, no, images have a power.
Doing, I mean, there is, and all the stuff that I've done. I've been doing this for 18 years, putting out videos and making movies and doing all sorts of stuff. Doing radio shows, putting a lot of time into editing videos and virtually putting out a feature-length film at least once or twice a week on my radio show. When I look at it, you know, me narrating, me talking, and then adding all these images, and like I'm literally structuring a documentary once or twice a week, all by myself. But all this stuff that I'm doing, none of it's real. None of it actually exists, because all they have to do is turn the power off, and it's all gone. It only exists in cyberspace.
Yes,
it only exists in cyberspace. And now they're getting all the books now, and they're putting all that in cyberspace. It's not to keep it safe and put it there so AI's got it. It's to keep the record for themselves and to shut it out for everybody else. All they have to do is turn the power off, and no one will know any word that I said. I might have said millions of words and done hundreds and hundreds of hours, possibly thousands of hours of talk and video in attempting to send a message to mankind, but none of it actually exists in the real world. All they have to do is shut the power off, and it's all gone. And I'm just a pleb who never did anything, because everything I did was virtual. So am I really doing anything at all? That's the question.
Well, you are. You're talking to me right now, so I just want to validate that. And the audience.
Are you? Maybe you're a bot. I don't know, mate. I'm getting.
Well, maybe I'm halfway. Maybe I'm halfway on my way to becoming one if I don't watch out. I mean, you mentioned the thing about the music that you mentioned. Exactly the same. I can put stuff on, and it's like 1973, and I know what flat I was in, and I remember which one of my mates walked in with an album and said, "Let's listen to this." And of course, the first time you listen to things,
I can literally smell what the air smelt like on the day I listened.
Yeah, me too. I've got patchouli, unfortunately, as a regular thing. Every time I smell patchouli, because I used to go to concerts and everybody in denim jackets was just completely soaked in patchouli. I didn't even know what it was.
You're showing your age there now, brother.
Yeah, I can't. I didn't wear that stuff. I just, what are you smelling for?
Everybody did.
I know, but it just kicks it off, doesn't it?
It's really a fucking patchouli flavored revolution, you know?
I know. I think olfactory memory is unbelievable. You can just smell stuff, and it's just like instantaneous flashback. It's like there's no gap. It's just bang. It's like the movie just runs in your head again. And you mentioned Lord of the Rings. I think I was droning on about, but I bought a copy just before Christmas last year, because I hadn't read it. I'd read it twice before. I read it when I was 15 and probably when I was about 30. So it was like 30 odd years. And I thought, I'm going to read it again. So I bought a really good version of it. I spent quite a bit of money on it. And for 6 weeks or however long it took, it was something like that, I was just in heaven every evening for about an hour and a half. And it was just...
I read the Lord of the
Rings. It's magic. There's a magic because you get connected up with the fact that you are driving it. I think, going on to the dark side, I think the CIA have said that books are the most, still to this day, the most powerful form of conditioning. And I think one of the reasons is, if you're not conscious as you're reading it, and you've got to watch out the sort of crap that they put out, but you're the one turning the pages and you're the one creating the movie. And it's quite a thing. And it's why I've always preferred radio really to video, in the sense that I know it's a bit sort of namby-pamby, but it is the theatre of the mind. It's a bit of a glorious noncy statement in a way, but it's true. It's true, you know.
It's a good thing too, because it's just a thought flow. It's not, you're not dependent upon what someone looks like or whatever, or having a nice background or whatever. It's good, like people driving trucks just tune into talk radio, and radio's great, you know.
I think it is. I think it suits my style more, even though I know, you know, we should probably get video cameras and stuff. And every now and again I think, well, maybe I will. But then I don't want to scare the children and stuff like that, you know. I'd have to spend even more time in makeup and all this kind of stuff and getting all that sort of sorted out. But the thing about, the reading stuff is just amazing. I mean, I'll tell you, there's another thing. This is a silly story. I've mentioned it here before, so some listeners will know this.
Let me just say, before we get off Lord of the Rings, I read Lord of the Rings for probably 2 years. I read Lord of the Rings.
Right.
I did that every night after school when I was like 16 years old at school.
Yep.
I must have read it maybe 25 times.
Wow. You beat me.
I would lay in bed and I'd read this book for like an hour or two every night. And then when I'd get to the end of Return of the King, I'd put it down and I'd sigh and go, wow. And then I'd pick up Fellowship of the Ring and I'd start reading it again.
you know the actor Christopher
feeling
Lee.
That it gave me this feeling, this warmth, this realism, and there's a really deep message in there about standing up to tyranny and bravery and companionship and respecting friendship. There's a lot of messages in Lord of the Rings, and I read it.
It's magnificent. It's off the charts, brilliant. So when you were reading it when you were 15, this was a thing. So I read it about 1975, and of course the books came out in 1955. But when I was 15, that was like a million years ago. I just thought this is an ancient book. You know, it came out 5 years before I was born. Well, that was just forever away. You know, at the time. Now it's like I look back. I was thinking about it the other day. I thought I got really lucky. We got lucky. We happened when everybody was reading it. You know, everybody at school when we went to sixth form, everybody was reading it. Everybody was just reading. There was like everybody had a copy under their arm. This went on for about a year and a half. So, you know, you could say we're conformists or whatever, but it was just mad. And everybody got the same, I think, pretty much the same sort of feelings that you're talking about. It's spectacular. When the films came out as well, I was completely knocked out. I thought they were as good an offering as you could make from a book like that. The book is still more magical. But still, they just did a fantastic job. And it's full of all these ancient, really Greek themes. It is about moral and ethical behavior. It's about real challenges, and it's about, which were lost on me when I was 15. I was just blown away by it. I just thought, what have I just read? I don't know what it was, but I loved it.
Interesting. But that's a really interesting thing about the mythological tales as well, is like when you look at Greek mythology, and you got your Hermes and Apollo and Atlas and all these people. Then you look at Norse mythology and you've got their equivalents there. You look at Egyptian mythology and you've got the equivalents there as well. You've got like 3 separate mythologies that all have the same amount of characters who all did similar things. They just have different names for the characters. So it lends credence to the fact that something happened back then. So there's some sort of truth to some of these mythological tales.
I've got to just do a closeout here, Max. We're just about to lose one of the channels that picks us up, so I've just got to say a few words. I normally play a song here, but I'm not going to this week because I'm enjoying the conversation. We don't need another song, I don't think. So we're going to say goodbye to you all on WBN 324. If you want to carry on listening, go over to paulenglishlive.com and you can pick up multiple ways to carry on listening to the show. I'm here with Max Igan, and we're having a tremendous chat here on this Thursday evening for us, Thursday afternoon if you're in the States. We're going to be carrying on there. But we'll say goodbye to everybody on WBN 324, and you can catch us same time next week. Okay, I've done my bit, Max. So there we go. Listen, the show runs for another hour. I don't know how you're fixed for time. It's down to you. You can say, I've got to go, and that's cool if that's what you need to do. It's up to you. I don't mind.
Look, I'd like to keep chatting, but I've got like 3 people. I've got 3 or 4 people who've kind of come to Croatia and they're like visiting just for the night.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
They all arrived, and I said, well, that's nice to see you for 2 minutes. I have to go for an interview now. And I've got
you've
one
got to
of
be
them
friendly
here in the room. And unfortunately, I do. Unfortunately, I have to, be friendly sometimes. So, but
listen,
I think I probably should go and spend some time with these people because they've taken a great effort to come and visit me.
Yeah,
and
I'm regretting actually. Yeah, I'm regretting actually offering you the opportunity to leave, but you're right. I shouldn't get so petty about it. I've enjoyed the last 2 hours tremendously. It's been brilliant. I'd love to have another conversation with you at some point in the future. And great meeting Ivana.
When I go back to Mexico, brother. Like I'll be back in Mexico probably in about a month. What's the date now? By the 20th. I should easily be back there by this time next month, and then I'm free pretty well anytime you like.
Fab. Well, maybe we'll do one back end of September, October time or something. It'll be here before we know it. But
it's been great to chat to you, Paul. But I really should go, man. I've got
you should. You should. Otherwise, you'll be cursing me, and you won't want to come back. You say it's that twat over there that actually held me from all my good friends. So we don't want that lingering. But brilliant. Thank you so much.
Just friends, just acquaintances.
Yeah. No, brilliant, fantastic, and we'll talk more about old books and things next time you're around. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Max.
All good, brother. Love the chat. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Bye-bye. Max Igan, everybody. So he's obviously got all these pals and people just hanging around, so he's going to go have fun and make tea. So I don't know what we do with the show now. I was in a quandary about it, actually. I thought we might end at 10. I've got nothing else much lined up. Unless Eric wants to come in and say something. You want to say anything, Eric? You've been listening very patiently, which is really wonderful. Hello, good evening. Hello. How are you?
Mustn't grumble. I was a bit envious of Max making a cup of tea and didn't offer us one. So there we go. But he should have at least offered us. But it was very interesting what he was saying and his view of life, which I 100% agree with. But I thought he was going to speak about something he spoke about on a video. And I won't go too deep into it because I don't want to ruin a future show, about the whole world, and I hope I'm not misinterpreting him, lies being said about this situation in the Middle East. Because if Israel is being bombed the way they say, then they would be their military being capable of doing anything, but they're not. Their aircraft are still taking off, and they're still invading neighbouring countries. And with Iran, the capital, Tehran, would be as flat as a pancake now, but it isn't. So what's going on? I'm glad it isn't, and I'm glad there's people that are surviving. But there's
newspapers, I guess, are going on to some degree. Eric, is it possible for us to really ascertain the true state of things? I mean, I have seen, some of the events he was describing there towards the end of the first hour, which are pretty horrific. I know that stuff like that's going on. Probably everybody else here is, and you end up feeling sort of powerless to deal with it. I mean, I do think, of course, our real attention is for our own people here in our own home. Yes. That's the best way we can fight for everybody, is to learn to fight for ourselves and demonstrate, hopefully, if we're given a good shake of the stick, that we can turn parts of this around. I thought what Ivana was saying, though, is also, I mean, on this show we don't address those sorts of things, but it's not that they've never been a part of my life. I do look into things like that. I just haven't done recently. I've been as you have, I guess, to some degree, and maybe I'm very, very pragmatically oriented over, particularly this year. It was needed. Sometimes you just, but those thoughts are never really too far away. I mean, it was interesting. I liked the fact that Ivana swore at the entity that was actually giving her grief. That bit I could really resonate with. And I used to have, when I was younger, like 7 or 8, I used to have this recurring nightmare, which was along similar lines. I've never had a recurring nightmare since, but I used to have this one, which is, in real life, my mum and dad would take me up to bed after a cup of Horlicks or Ovaltine or whatever it was.
That was it. I remember that. Yeah.
I'd have my dressing gown on, I'd have my face all washed, and I'd be all ready to go to sleep and all that. And we'd go into the hall, this is in real life, go up the stairs and I'd go to sleep. And then I'd have this dream where this was happening again in the dream. In the dream, I'm back in the lounge, and my mum and my dad say, "Oh, it's time to go to bed." And I'm going, haven't I just done this? Sort of all confused in the dream. And I'd go into the hall, but this time, as I went into the hall, my mum and dad would close the door behind me, and I'd be all alone with no one to take me up the stairs, and it was now pitch black. And at the end of the hall, there were all these glowing eyes and these muttering voices, like lots of eyes, like as if there were little demons at the end of the thing. And this went on for a few nights. And one night when I went to bed, I thought, if that comes back, I'm basically going to tell them to bugger off. Or, of course, I didn't know language like that then because I was only 7 and I was being raised properly. So when it actually happened, similar to what Ivana said, although I didn't have it sort of in, whilst I was doing house cleaning in real life, I told them very loudly in my dream, "Go away!" I remember this, and they never came back. Whatever it was that was going on with me never came back. And yeah, I think obviously when you're younger, you're more in touch with that side,
I agree with you. But I've done similar, not necessarily in dreams, but you get things come into your mind like thoughts, negative thoughts, panic attacks and things like that. I've done the same as what Ivana has done. I just told it to sod off, not exactly in those words. And it goes. Because I think that a lot of these, whatever you want to call them, demons or whatever, they're very weak. Some are strong, but some are weak. And some won't go unless you really do tell them to go. But I very much believe in that. And we were talking earlier today about Jeremy Nowinski. And he he was a psychiatrist in the American prison system. And he discovered that, what is it now? What's that thing where people... Hang on, I was muted. I said I accidentally muted.
Hey, it's catching the muting disease.
My God, I've suffered from mute. I tell you what, something else is when your lips go out of sync when you've got video on. Suffering some out of sync. It's from watching too many dodgy foreign films, you see. But I was going to say is Jeremy Nowinski, he found out that people that suffer from, what's that where people hear voices? I can't think of the word.
Schizophrenia?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no. Schizophrenics were actually hearing voices, and he could cure them. And of course, Big Pharma don't want to know about that. So he got booted out and everything. He really has been through the thick of it. But some of the experiences he has said on air are absolutely mind-blowing. And I 100% believe him because I haven't had it as bad as him, but I have had experiences. And I think that Tesla came up with something about changing frequency. If you're starting off saying you've got a bad day and you think, everything's going wrong, change your frequency. I say, it's a good day. Yeah, it's a great day. And it's surprising how different it can make things. And it's like, if you go out and you're looking at everything that's negative, you will find negativity. But if you look at everything that's positive, you'll find positive stuff. And I think that's basically life.
There's something about the uttering of words, more than the uttering, but when you say them with intention, they change things. They do. They change you. They change your experience of yourself in the moment. It's language and making a sound. It's obviously self-evidently a very powerful thing. Of course, it's that, that old adage, if you don't ask, you won't get. It's like we're not asking. Sometimes I feel I'm asking for the wrong things. I'm trying to solve the wrong problems. I mean, you might solve them. I go, I really shouldn't have been solving that problem. I should have been solving this one. This is a bigger one. I used to have this. There was this adage that used to float around. How do you get rid of your problems? Oh, it's quite simple. You just take on a bigger one. Have you noticed that? If you take on a bigger problem, it pushes all the little ones out of your consciousness. You go, that's not important. And there are things that I was fretting about 18 months ago that I've still done nothing about, but they don't bother me at all now because I've gone, no, there's a much bigger problem. We've got to save England. And I do think that. Yes. I mean, I really do think that, or at least I'm going, well, that's a reasonably positive goal. I'll have that for now until I grow up a bit more and can have a better one. Because there are better ones to have. There probably are, but you do what you can, don't you, in the moment?
I 100% agree with you because I think that it's surprising how you can change things. And the Aborigines knew how to change things. They could change the weather by doing weather dances and things like that. And I once saw a documentary where there was a gliding championships and the weather was wrong. An Aboriginal lady came along. She did this strange weather chart, and everybody took the wee-wee. secretly. And the next day, the weather was perfect for gliding. And they said, this is a miracle. And she was quite, well, yes, because the Aborigines have been living with the world and the land for thousands of years. They know what they're doing. So there's a lot in that. And
there is.
I really do believe that. Negative, positive. If you are negative, you'll attract negativity. And if someone does me a wrong, I don't want to feel spite or anything like that. I feel, well, I don't know what's going on inside their head, and they might be going through hell. So I just think, oh, well, that's life.
Well, you end up poisoning yourself, don't you?
Yes.
But it's very difficult to learn. You know, it is when you're younger. I found it so. You just you're more reactive, and there's something sort of glorious about that because it's appropriate for your age and what you know. Sometimes you just have to fight in whatever way you think is best at that particular time. And in retrospect, you go, oh, I was a bit of an idiot back then. But going, yeah, but you didn't know any better, and you were doing. You know, if you do it with honesty and good intentions in your heart, that's the best. That's a good thing. Ivana's use, of course, of swearing has obviously influenced Matilda, who says, and this is just going back to words, Eric, she says, in my head I say, F off, government. Maybe I should shout it. Yes, go on, do it, shout it right now, Matilda. Go out into the street.
Excellent.
Really loud, and hopefully everybody else will start joining in. Yeah, so why not? And then she's apologised. Sorry, gents, for swearing. You should. It's atrocious, Matilda. It's a terrible thing.
Yes.
Swearing in the chat.
I agree with Matilda. I mean, let's face it. That during World War II, there was a famous witch who bloke who liked walking around in the all together. He's a bit kinky and a bit weird, and they did witchcraft ceremonies, go away ceremonies, and things like that, which they say, I don't know, may have altered the course of the war. I don't know, and I think that if we all had a day where we said go away to the government, could it make a change? We can't do any.
You know what? That would be fun, though, wouldn't it?
It would be fun. A certain time, a certain day, and
once a year or something. Yeah, absolutely.
We shout out, go away to the government. It's a simple thing.
Maybe we should use Matilda's battle cry.
Yeah, I mean, can we sort of name a day we're at a time and build up to that? I mean, how would we get people to know?
Well, I think people might want to just do it, you know. It already feels quite a giddy idea. It's National Government F-Off Day at 12 o'clock noon. Go out in the street and just shout it as loud as you can. It'd be fantastic.
Everybody
suddenly this huge cry goes up all across Londonistan or wherever it is. We're going, ooh, we got something. We've talked about simple things. Like we were talking earlier today, weren't we, in the call about posters with a few words to make impact. Maybe that's just the sort of galvanizing match that we need. You don't know. It could be just National F-Off Government Day.
Think of a day.
Yeah, we probably want to do it more than once a year, though. And once people have got a taste for it, we're going to do it every Saturday now. Then every day at noon, you know.
It's a good idea. At noon, and we point towards London. So you'd have to have some sort of map, you know. It'd be where I am, it's south, and where you are, it's north. And you point towards it. It's a bit like pointing towards Mecca, but not Mecca, it's London. And we just point and say, F off government. That's what we could do, just do a point.
I like it. I think it's got traction, this. I can feel the energy going up in the chats. Yeah. Matilda says, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, we could actually think of a time or a day. I mean, let's think, 12 o'clock on the 15th of every month. I just made that up. I don't know. But that 15th of every month.
Yeah, we'll check our calendars, get a day.
Say, F off government.
Maybe it's the first day of the month or the last day of the month. I don't know what it is, but it needs to be that. It's, someone's written that they got all the Covidiots to go out and bang in their pots. And John Ponce says, remember the banging of the pots and the pans that the Covidiots... Unfortunately, I do. We need to do our own version. I think we're finding it here, everybody. We're finding it. It's a bit vulgar, but I think in this case, a bit of vulgarity won't go amiss. I think it would be... It's appropriate. I think it really is. Might release a bit of energy. You don't know.
You never know.
Is that all we had to do? Is tell them to F off? Yeah, it looks as though it's worked.
But it might actually work when you think about it. I mean, it's a bit like I was walking. I went down to the town the other day, do a bit of shopping, and there's like a very small precinct, and they've always got charities there, and charity, and they shout out.
It's all
to
for
you,
charity.
Because there's a few people around. Excuse me, sir, do you want to do this? And all this? And I had someone shout out, excuse me, sir, do you want to save children dying of cancer? And I thought, yes. I went over, I said, yes, I do. Yes. I found out that money doesn't cure it, or nor do charities. But if you put them on a keto diet and get doctors that know what they're doing, they can be cured. Thank you very much, sir. Goodbye. That's what he said. Thank you.
Well done.
So,
Excellent. That's how we deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, hang on, Hadji says it was Gerald Gardner. That's it? Yes. Yes, he liked walking around with his meat and two veg swinging in the breeze, you know. Smoking a pipe with socks and laced up shoes, you know. Yeah, it's a nice day, isn't it? Yes, nice out, isn't it?
It's nice to get back to a bit of vulgarity, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Nice I mean, that was a really interesting 2 hours as well. I mean, it was a different energy, brilliant. A different tone. Max is he comes from a different space. I really enjoyed it. And the fact that Ivana was on hand, that's spontaneity for you. But that was what she was, that field of inquiry. I was reminded kind of awkwardly while she was talking that I haven't spent much time thinking in that sort of avenue for a long time, actually. And I've often felt that it's as if the solutions are right there, but we're just not looking in the right place. It's right in front of your nose. And sometimes it's like tuning your consciousness up to God. That's that I've got to look at that. That's what I've got to look at. You think about
it. If everybody stood still in London, Avro 4000, I think that's the Fockham Transport Minister somehow. Hello, Anorak, said, can we do it on day 322 of the year, as they love that number, date 18/11, and also the 22nd of March every year. So a 22nd in the month or something like that.
Mm.
So can the police arrest you for pointing towards the government and just saying, go away, shouting, go away?
Yeah. Yeah,
and then we could tell the police. Yeah,
we tell the police to go away. Go away.
Yeah.
Go away.
That's it.
Go away. That's all you say.
Arresting you for saying go away to the government. Can't really do it very well.
Well, you know how we have a minute's silence for on November the 11th at the 11th hour and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we need a minute shouting. Really go for it. Yeah. Can you shout for a minute? I remember when I was younger with my brother in the house, if we were in there and my parents were out, sometimes we would just have a shouting competition to see who could make the loudest noise. I go, he goes, should we do some shouting? I go, yeah, you go first. And it was just, as loud as you could for us. And then, of course, you get hysterical when you start doing it. Yeah. But it's a great release of energy. It's probably very good for the body, isn't it?
Well,
maybe we just bring back shouting. Yeah, let's bring
me
back
and my
shouting.
sister used to do it because we just hated each other's guts. Well, she hated my guts, so she used to shout.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Ladylike, I tell you something. My sister was much older than me, and you get a right-hander from my sister, and you knew it because I not only got a right-hander from my mum, I got it from my sister as well. Shut up, you little sod! Bang! Oh.
Well, it's time for everybody that's being clipped or being told to shut up to get their own back and to let some sound out. There's that line, I've mentioned it a few times, in that poem by Kipling, The Norman and the Saxon, where he's advising his son, and he said, don't tell them lies. He said, otherwise they'll be up and at you like hornets. And that's what we need, a sort of a minute of acting like the noisiest.
That's right.
Get stretched sort of crew you ever could think. It could be fantastic, actually. I'm really quite into it. Instead of stand in the park, why not shout in the park? It needs to be shout in the park, doesn't it?
Well, Screaming Lord Such.
Not personally, but...
he allegedly committed suicide.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm using allegedly too much. Well, I knew somebody that knew him, and he said he did not commit suicide. He was done in. And they said he committed suicide, but he was suicided. And what they do every year on the anniversary of his death in the Monster Raving Lunar Party, they have a minute shouting. Some have a minute silence, they have a minute shouting.
I'd love to do that.
Lord Such.
I'd love to do it. It's a bit late here for me to start shouting. It's 10:20, and I do want to get on with my neighbours. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I had some unruly youths outside the house about 3 nights ago, making a right old din at 11:45. And I thought, I've turned into that middle-aged grouch.
Yeah.
Another one. It only went on for a few minutes. I thought, oh, well, did I ever do things like that? I went, yeah, I did. I did, So you let it ride. I mean, it's like we get a bit precious about all these things. Yeah, so a little bit of sort of loudness is quite... Yeah, everybody's a bit too timid. Maybe we just need volume. Get big amplifiers. I often said it might work.
Yeah, but we need a catchy name. We need a name for that time. You see, something hour or something like that. Something, because they've got World whatever it is Day.
I think the vulgar title is there, Eric. It's National Government F Off Day. I'm just being polite on air. I did want to say the whole word, but I'm such a baby.
Can't we have t-shirts with the date on it? So it's National Government F Off Day.
Yeah.
On the, I don't know, was it what did Anorak say? 22nd. We could have it on the 22nd of the month or something. That sounds pretty good. Yeah. Hang on, that's a couple of days' time. What's today? It's the 20th today. 21st, 22nd. That's Saturday. So
I'm so
Saturday,
keen. I'd probably do it alone on the seafront. I wouldn't really mind.
12 o'clock, which National Government F Off Day. We could do it around the world. So when I'm on, when I do my show, talking to people in America, Patrick and that, they could have their government F Off Day, and you just point F off government, and the police can't do anything about it. What can they do?
I don't know. Maybe they could say you're disturbing the peace. I don't know. They could say something, couldn't they? But there's probably a reply available to you, courtesy of the Willoughby app or something like that. If they come up to you, say, hang on, blah, 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 and then you just confront them in a way for them to demonstrate that they're not actually police officers. They're not. They're private people,
Oh,
masquerading, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that. I just like the idea of shouting. Well, look, let's face it. The take-up rate from the guy in the pub would be high. This is the sort of simple, direct communication that you want. It might get people in touch with their outrage as well. There's something about volume.
It could spread, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could.
But from a pub. So we say, okay, we're going to count down now. 5, 4. It's coming up to 12 o'clock. 3, 2, 1. Fuck off into the government.
Yeah. We're here. Here we are down at the local clock, and every day at 1 p.m, Eric von Essex arrives, and this is what happens. He's been arrested 34 times, but he won't stop. Well, this has been going on for several months, and now others are joining him. What are you doing? I'm going down there. I've got to be there at 1 o'clock. Why? I've got to tell the government to F off, right? You want to join? It only lasts about 5 seconds, but it's great fun. And then we go for a beer afterwards.
Right. Well, I've seen a video, and it really has wound me up. Someone took it secretly, and there's this little kid, he must be about 7 or 8 years old, and he's on one of these electric scooters, and there's a copper that stopped him, and he's taking his scooter away from him. This kid's sobbing. You've broken the law, blah blah blah, and he's going. This copper is a bit just like a robot, you will be picking this up, and we will do the blah 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 blah. And it made me feel like, going over to this copper and saying, "This is your head, this is my hand." Bash! Take that, you bastard! Just, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, constable. Yes. Why have you got a broken nose? But I haven't got a broken nose. Boom! You have now.
Well, you know the poster that we were talking about as well. I was just thinking about that poster. Lord Kitchener from World War I.
Oh, I can see.
These are too many words, but it should be. Your nation wants you to tell the government to
F off.
Right? But we print the full word. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then underneath, National Government F Off Day, blah, blah, blah. And then we can hold it regularly. Now it's an institute. A bit like the town crier, would come up and start ringing the bell. Oh, yes, the government has got right off. I'm dying to actually swear on radio, but I couldn't possibly do that. It'd be wrong of me, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Although I'll tell you what, I've noticed that the F-bombs keep creeping in all over the place, even on mainstream, well, it's slightly mainstream radio. I was listening to Mike Graham the other day. Sorry to bring him up, but there's some good stuff. Actually, he had some good guests on. He had Lord Monckton on this morning.
Is he still around? He's good,
he's
Lord Monckton.
He's fantastic, and he was just nailing things and just talking about the babies in charge and all that kind of stuff. He's great, he's a very articulate guy, and he comes across with that kind of upper class gravitas, which I'm quite a sucker for when the guy's got a good heart, and he certainly does,
He has got, and I feel sorry for him for his eye condition. That is terrible. It's similar to Marty Feldman. It's an eye condition, poor soul, and I feel really sorry for him. But he's a very nice man. He was friends with what's his name now? Piers Corbyn, who's the brother of Jeremy Corbyn, and they were quite good friends, and they were both on the same page with the climate. And Lord Monckton has proved, and one good thing that Lord Monckton has said, he said, wherever electricity is introduced, the population goes down, because what happens when people get electricity, they think, oh, I'd like a washing machine, or I'd like a fridge or a freezer or something like that. Well, if we have children, we won't be able to afford that. So better cut back on the amount of children we have. So we can afford to buy a fridge or a freezer or a motor car or something.
The knock-on effects are just unbelievable, aren't they?
Yeah.
The knock-on effects, they're amazing, really. Yeah.
So I mean, let's face it. And you're in a hut miles from nowhere, and
I am actually.
When it's dark. Well, that's right. What are you going to do? You're going to have horizontal jogging, that's the thing. But if you've got electric lights, well, there's less horizontal jogging.
Well, we could have National Make a Baby Day, or at least practicing day, Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe something about the short and swift vulgar slogan is really what's needed. It might actually cut through. Yeah.
Well, you look at, I think one of the most incredible things was a French Connection UK. Really clever who thought that one up, because the first time I saw it I thought, what? And it looks rude, and we need something like that. So it is
rude. It makes you think rude things. It does. But oh no, it's not FUCK, it's FCUK. Oh right, okay.
We got to think so, and that will be marvelous. And it must start in pubs, and it'll spread to other pubs, and you have pubs throughout the United Kingdom at a certain time saying "F off" to the government.
And then what we have to do on the radio, right, is we have to get loads of people on their phones to call in all at the same time, and then we do a countdown, and we just get this complete cacophony going over the airwaves. That's what you need, just to transmit the energy. I like that. We can hold it once a week instead of now at the time sponsored by Accuracies. And now we're going over for our important midday report from the government F off team, and that's it. We're tuning in to all these pubs. There's 600 pubs. Here we go. That's it. We'll be back again same time tomorrow for another one. Yeah, I quite like this. This is good.
Something's just come to mind.
Yeah.
What they call when you have pens with names on them? Oh, it's a certain name, isn't it? When you're trying to promote something, there's a certain name for it. Well, years ago they used to have like a loudspeaker, not an electric one, just an ordinary cone. You could make them, show how to make it, and you put that up to your mouth.
A megaphone.
Megaphone, yeah, but not an electric one, just a simple one that had in the 1920s. So you go,
like the referees used to have boating. The guys on boats have them, don't they? The coxswain used to have them at the back.
Yeah, that could be something you could buy with National F off Day. And when you go to the pub, you take yours along with you, and everybody through their megaphone goes, F off, government.
Rodney, that's a brilliant idea. This time next year, we'll be millionaires.
I think we're onto something. We really are onto something with this. And is chat going mad? Come on, chat. Think of something. It'd be even better.
It is. They're all getting quite giddy. I mean, it's sort of like, everybody likes to swear. We could just do a promo thing. Now you can do it officially at 1 o'clock every Monday, first Monday of every month, or whatever we say it is. Join everybody else and really let go. And to really, be amongst the crowd, why not get the National F off megaphone? Here it is, which shipped. and everybody gets them. It'd be brilliant. I love it.
And it'd be small. I mean, it wouldn't, it'd only be a small one because, quite honestly, people wouldn't take a big one to the pub with them. But it could actually have...
it's getting complicated, this.
HN Government, HN Government logo on the side. I don't know if you can copy it with F off on it.
Yeah, it's ticking a lot of boxes, this, isn't it? It ticks a lot of boxes.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
And that is one of the best protests ever. Or people gather outside Number 10 at a certain day with their megaphones and just say, F off. I mean, what can the police do about it? Everybody's just standing there shouting F off to the government.
The creative juices in the chat are flowing. There's one in from Enviro. It says, you're missing another vital point here. We need to get one of those vans with an advert on the back with Andy Bumbum's face on it and F off on it. Yeah, we could do that.
Yes.
In fact, we could just change the slogan. We could start it with that, and then we could, and particularly, and then we name someone. There's no end to it. It could be just tremendous. I could see a whole movement of shouty people. Yeah, join the National Shouting Society.
Or the National Shouting Front. The National Shouting Front. I think Nick Griffin will like that one, with the National Shouting Front. So
yeah.
Actually, we could put that to him. I think it's a
Listen,
classic.
I think it's so in keeping with the way that we can behave, and it's funny, right? And because it's funny, it's got traction. It is funny. There's no two ways about it.
Something tonight, haven't we? Really?
It's genius, mate. It's genius. We just needed a couple of hours of quiet listening to Max, and that. I mean, we've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. But we tend to do that. But this is really good. But I mean, why not? So we've talked about really, really deep and serious things, but then in the end, the show ended up with we just wanted to shout. Do a lot of shouting.
Can you imagine all the lefties all going along with their pink and green and grey hairstyles going, oh, isn't it disgusting? F off.
I don't think they would. They'd probably try. They would obviously try and get some kind of action against it, and they'd try and find some bylaws about why you're not allowed to shout. But you're allowed to shout at football matches, aren't you? That's why people go. It's the only place they can go to let off some steam. So we just that's. Well, I don't think there's much more noodling on this. We just need a date, and a megaphone supplier would be handy to find out. I'm probably going to waste half an hour tomorrow morning looking for one. I bet you I do.
Yes.
I can feel it.
Or make your own, like Blue Peter. It's not that. It's not rocket science. And I think that it would. I mean, I was thinking today of a cartoon, and based on Viz magazine, and it would be Andy Burnham and his unfeasibly large or unfeasibly small brain or something like that, or unfeasibly large rectum or something like that. Andy Burnham, and it could make a minor spelling error on it, so it can't claim he's him. But we need a cartoon character like that. Andy Burnham and his unfeasibly large. I can't think of it.
We can get some songs going. You know that song "Good Night Irene"? You know that one? Good Night Irene. Well, you can change the lyrics to that quite easily. People do. Anyway, look. Obviously, the songstresses and songsters of the island and anywhere else, we could make this a worldwide thing. Yeah, it's just that's in my mind. It's already happened, which is sad because it hasn't. But the conversation is just of course it can.
It can happen, and I think it'll start in pubs, and it could go round. It could really go the length of Britain very, very soon. And it doesn't matter where you are. Evro, he's bloody brilliant, Evro. And that's Anorak. He says, make a megaphone out of a traffic cone. We've got them already. There's thousands of them. Traffic cones.
Well, if we did them. Okay, so, all right, children, now we've got one here that we've already made, and this is what you actually can do with the traffic cone. We've had this letter in from Bobby from Peterborough, and he wants to know how he can turn a traffic cone into a megaphone so that he can tell the government to beep off. And his mum and dad are here with him, and you only need a little bit of sticky back plastic, and here we are,
And we told Bobby next door to go and play with the traffic on the M1, and he did, and he's come back with a megaphone. The little sod returned. But there's loads of them. There's no shortage of them. I mean, I'm sure that there is a kind of they mate traffic cones, and they just got 2 traffic cones. They got them to mate, and suddenly you got a complete population explosion of them. But yeah, that is a good one. And I'm sure we could all find a traffic cone, can't we? Somewhere.
Yeah. Is there anything else for us to talk about? This idea's sort of just taken over for half an hour, hasn't it, really? Not that I mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind. Or we could have a Fockham Day, National Fockham Day, or a national. Yes. Well, I won't go into that one, but a word that's very, very similar that we could aim at governments. No, I think the F off is much better. But we need T-shirts first of all that we can have. Megaphone. What else would there be? Also on election days, F off. Hang on. Ambrose says it's multitasking, but if a group of us went and picked up a traffic cone, we could clear roadworks in the process. That's a point, isn't it?
It ticks a lot of boxes. Well, all we need is one pub. We need one pub to do it, film it, stick it on YouTube. Seriously, it's a thing where you need to film it, stick it on YouTube and go, join it. Join the English Shouting Society or whatever we're going to call this thing.
Join the campaign
to tell the government
rid of governments F off.
By shouting. Shout them out of office.
Go away. Or if you're if you're in Hampstead, you'll go away. With an F word in it, something like that.
Well, when Tommy Trousers had all that 1.5 million people or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Imagine if they'd done that, right?
Yeah.
It'd be quite loud, you see. And what happens is when people in crowds make a lot of noise, it actually can be overwhelming to you as an individual. Because it transmits directly, without intellect, a sense of your own power. Doesn't it?
Does. Well, they did an experiment once. Was it that chap Robinson? Now, I don't know if you've heard, now this is a very sad thing, of the Bethnal Green disaster. There's a plaque there today, but what it was is that during World War II, people used to use the underground as an air raid shelter when the trains had stopped running, during the night. And a load of people were going down going down the steps at Bethnal Green, and a new anti-aircraft gun had been sighted. And this is under Churchill's command, because he wanted naval guns to fire at aircraft, and they thought that a bomb had made a direct hit. So what happened is, as the crowd was going down, part of the crowd turned round and went back, and then trampled women, children, and the elderly to death accidentally. It's just the force of the crowd. And they did experiments with this, with dummies and things like that. And then they did a thing with a rugby try, and they said it's amazing how powerful people are. And they showed the immense strength of a load of hairy blokes doing a rugby scrum.
Do they have to be hairy?
Well, it could be hairy, And
I am hairy, just to let you know.
So am I, actually, a little bit hairy, not that hairy.
Ladies, you don't have to be hairy. In fact, we prefer it if you're not, to be quite honest.
Well, today I had quite a time walking to the egg farm, because I was walking up this narrow lane and it said pathway closed, and they've got all these barriers around it because the council's dug holes. So I thought, sod that for a laugh. So I just moved the barriers out of the way and put them back, and just moved and sort of jumped over the holes and just ignored them. I thought, well, sod it. I mean, once upon a time, they'd just have a sign up. That's it. They've got barriers everywhere. But I think that it's time we should stick 2 fingers up to authority in a way, like over-the-top health and safety. This was over-the-top health and safety. Why? Why are they doing it? They caused a massive traffic jam because someone was digging a hole in the pavement. But because they was digging a hole in the pavement, they had to block off a lane and have traffic lights because there's roadworks that weren't going on in the roads. Nonsense. It's bonkers. And they're doing that all the time. They're just going over the top with health and safety. I'm all for health and safety, but in its place, and it's not and they're just going over the top with it. So
it's just
anyway,
too much health and too much safety. We need it slightly less safe, and you don't need to be that healthy.
When I was a lad, we knew where we stood when we had rickets, you know. That's a bloody good disease, and we lost all that. Well, his bloody health service, what the hell? My granddad was really happy when he had bronchitis. He used to cough his guts up. That's the day. They were the days. Tell you the other one, eating chips and fish and chips out of newspaper.
Yep.
We lost something in this country where they put VAT on fish and chips.
Oh, it can all come back. It's the thing that's got to come back first is desire.
Yes.
That's the thing that's got to come back. No, desire and outrage. Desire and outrage in combination and that kind of stuff. It's an energy bar, you know. I mean, Max was making good points about that, really, you know, that people are not animated enough with regards to our condition. And it's true, you know, we're not the vast. I've got to work on the basis. There's a part of me that just can't let go of this. In my head, I bet I'm not. You just think, like in those films, all the villagers are going to rise up, all right? And if you can achieve that, that would be something. But I suspect, unfortunately, in today's tightly, intellectually, mentally controlled populace, that's unlikely to occur. But I suspect there's still enough maniacs, for want of a better word, around that will do it. You see the energy's there. It still exists.
It is.
I mean, of course, they're doing it in football stadiums, which is, I've still no idea why you would even go and watch that stuff anymore, because it's become culturally irrelevant. But, you know, I wouldn't use words like that in a football crowd because I'd probably get my head kicked in. Not that they do that anymore. You can't even get your head kicked in at a football match. I mean, where's the fun in that? So,
that's there's so much that's been removed from our culture that needs to come back. That was good. That was
bring it
fine.
all back with shouting.
Yes, come and shout.
We'll shout our way back to freedom. This is not a sophisticated approach. You just have. This is the sort of the equivalent of picking up a hammer and hitting the nail. I don't want to talk to you about what the nail's made out of, or where I bought the hammer, or that it was my uncle this and that. Pick that up and hit it. Bang. There you go. Yeah. It's got to be sort of like that. Maybe it does. Anyway, it might be.
Do you remember at Diana's funeral when everybody started clapping, and just one person started, and everybody else just started clapping? Just why? We don't know. It's surprising how things follow on.
It's feeling. That's right. Where people give themselves permission to feel things. Of course, everybody says, this is not very British behaving like this. I actually thought it was, to be quite honest.
Well, I mean, it's not racial. I mean, I can't do some racial stuff because it doesn't really matter. If you're third or fourth generation immigrant, you can still say F off government. So what can they do you for? I think we can get away with it.
Oh, there'll be something, but I don't think that's really, I wouldn't even think about it. Anyway, if we can get a pub, get 6 or 10 guys in there, get them to do it, film it, stick it on YouTube and say this takes place, and then and we just get all the pubs to join in, you know. And
I think that's a brilliant idea, and we'll try this and put it on, TikTok as well. And Mike Mantis has says,
isn't that for young people, Eric? TikTok, isn't that? I'm not very young.
Yeah, nor am I. But bring back town criers, especially ones with Tourette's. And Matilda says, "Oh effing yay, oh effing yay."
I've got a relation, you know, that's got it. I've mentioned it before. I've got a friend. He's English, but he's been living in Canada most of his life. But he's got it, and it's quite spectacular when it happens. Yeah, it's quite a thing. No one takes offence because he's got this perfect excuse. I said, "You're just doing it for show." I said, "You haven't got it at all." It's just like swearing in front of everybody. So
when I last had a television, I saw a documentary and I was crying, literally crying with laughter. It was with people with Tourette's, you see, and I feel greatest sympathy for them. I do feel sorry for people with Tourette's. It's a awful thing. But some people take the mickey out of themselves, and there's loads of people singing along who've got Tourette's, and there's one bloke that sings songs whilst he has a bad attack of it. Anyway, on with the story. They took all these poor sods with Tourette's to France, where there's a leading authority on it, you see, and they went to this university, and they're in this
Monsieur Gobshite.
That's right. And they're all sitting there, and
Sorry, set the scene. There's this lecture theatre. Walks this fella, and you can always tell a psychiatrist because you look at the hang of their trousers. If it's 4 inches above the ankle, they're loony. If it's 4 inches below the ankle, they're slovenly. And this bloke had a pair of flared trousers on that were 4 inches above the ankle. He walked on and held all of them with the stretch, shouting, "Wanker!" And I was off you had to see it. It's purely visual. I was crying with laughter. But the thing is, they said what everybody was thinking. Well,
there was that incident, wasn't there, at the film do recently? Yeah. Was that within the last year? You see, this is one of those things I need to put down in this diary of sort of crazy events. And you go, the year in review. I haven't got a year in review because I haven't made any notes, so I've got to start doing it. It was that Scottish fella that was winning an award for the film, and of course he said the most racially inappropriate thing you could, and everybody was outraged. And someone was explaining, said, "Don't you get it? That's what they do. They say the thing that is absolutely the most offensive thing to say. It's like burning in their head because that's what the condition does." And everybody's going, "It can't be right. He needs to be locked up. He's a racist. He's got Tourette's." Maybe we should all plead that we've got Tourette's. Oh, sorry, I've just got Tourette's.
Sorry, sod off. Yeah.
I've got Tourette's though, by the way. You great big hairy-arsed idiot. Yeah.
Well, I like what everyone says. Now, people in America won't be able to understand this, but I could just see hellos, Officer Crabtree with Tourette's, because he was the one that couldn't speak French. "Good morning. I was just dissing by your deux." I mean, that was classic, that was. But that was the last of the real comedies, I think. I don't think there's been a comedy since that.
Oh, I don't know. There's this show, Eric. It's getting up ahead of steam. We're not doing too bad. We just need a few script writers in to tighten things up so that we don't stick on one subject a little bit too long. But tonight's just been slightly different, hasn't it? It has been different. I've felt different about the whole show. I mean, I didn't. So a lady called Tash, if she's still listening, she might not be, but she might catch it. She organised it, arranged it with Max, and fantastic. Yeah, really good. I've had a few people come forward and say, "I want to organise getting you some guests," and I'm finding it all a bit strange because I'm a bit of a sort of, a bit set in my ways and all that kind of stuff.
It really worked.
It did work, and there's some fantastic people out there to talk to. And I think if I get more organised, I could do at least another show a week, which I've been droning on about for 2 years now, or something ridiculous. So, but I have got the time back, and as I was saying to you earlier in the day, although there was one slight technical issue tonight, which was completely down to me, overall the station and everything is technically working really well. Although, as I said, the show that was on before us, they completely cocked it up. It's really irritating. I'm getting everything right, and now other people are starting to cock things. Yeah, I don't know what happened. They just had no sound for like 40 minutes or something, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't actually come over to your house and switch your microphone on. Yeah, it just happens every now and again. It's called live radio, and things just get cocked up.
Yeah, but Paul, I tell you who you really do need to get on this show. That chap that was on, the other, where was it now? A chap that's on about population and what is being taken. Who's
Simon Elmo yesterday?
He needs to come on here.
I bigged it up at the beginning of the show here. I mentioned it. Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic because he's got the nitty gritty on the detail, and I think, he's working away, and he was saying things that are out there, right? So these things have got to be described and give other people courage to come forward and start saying these sorts of sentences. They've got to be said. That's the beginning, is forming the idea and getting on with it. And I think it's encouraging. You go, as soon as you look around, you've got a handful of allies, and there's more than that. It's just that we're not all sort of in each other's spaces every minute of the day, and that would be awkward as well. But you know what I mean? It changes your energy throughout your day. Because I don't know about you, I never stop thinking about this stuff. I suspect many people here don't either.
I'm similar, and I bet you're going to wake up tomorrow morning with this National F-Off Day. You're going to wake up with 1,001 ideas. I'm going
to wake up tomorrow morning in prison for having shouted in the street.
But
I got locked up.
I'll tell you what brought it home to me, and I made a bit of a joke of it and laugh a bit, but it was when I saw someone squatting in the street. That actually really really brought it home to me. You know, you don't expect to see that along the high street. Someone on a bit of green grass, having a poo, basically. And I just thought,
you know what? This has got to be a record, Eric. We're about 10 minutes. This is the first time we've gone full lavatorial, and there's less than 10 minutes to go. I'm impressed. I know you weren't there. By the way, I want to thank you for being so patient over the first 2 hours. You've been fantastic.
That's all right.
I felt awkward about it. I didn't know quite what to do.
Please
but I think
don't feel awkward, because the fact is, it's a show, and what Max was fantastic. He needs to come on here again as well.
Oh, he will do. He's just said it, so we'll have him back. It'd be great. Yeah. Now that he's my best mate. Not really, but no, he's. I mean, some of the things he was saying as well. I mean, like he's 3 years older than me, and all his memories and stuff, and his cultural influences, they're the same. So it's going, it's like two peas in a pod, and you'll be similar, but it's the same sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, we're a similar age, and I think the thing what makes, and also he lives in Mexico, not that far from Helen. Was it up the road or down the road from her?
No. Helen sent me a message saying, "Great, you've got Max on." I don't know if she's actually spoken to him. He was on somebody else's show as well recently. That's also on FFT a couple of weeks ago. These ladies, you see, are very good at getting good guests on. I think they're much more charming than the hairy arse northerner like me. But whatever, it's good. And if we connect up with these. It's good to get his insight. You know, he's been working so hard for so many years in doing these things. And it is important to hear this. It's people's experience about the process that I'm particularly interested in at this moment in time or this period. You know, it's like, what is it that we could change that would make us more effective to galvanize more people? Now, maybe that's the wrong objective as well. It makes me sit back and go, I've got to do some noodling time.
Well,
I'll give an example. To use our time best.
Places like Australia now. Australia, I saw a documentary that was made in the 60s. You can see it on YouTube, I think. And it was the place to be. It was the freedom place. It was a happy time. People went there and they had good music. And that's why you had the £10 pom. And that was, people could go to Australia for £10, one-way ticket.
Yeah.
And most of the people that went, some of them came back. But I worked with a chap who actually was a £10 pom. And he left in 1970, and he came back in 1975, and he said he was shocked to see how the country had changed in 5 years. He said, you don't notice it when you're living here, but he said his mother used to leave her front and back door open in the summer so the nice cool breeze would run through the house. He couldn't do that when he came back. He said his crime rate had gone up. And when you consider this country now as the crime capital, was it of Europe? Or the world, I can't. But it's
just
not crime, the rape capital. Sorry, I got that wrong. It's the rape capital.
It is.
I think, is it of Europe or I'm not sure if it's.
No, it may be. I don't know. It's off the charts, mad. You know, what language do you use to describe it? The language we need to be using is what we're going to do to restore our nation. I mean, I understand why we've got to describe some of the problems, but I almost feel like that's a sticking point as well. I'm not ignoring it. I'm fully aware of it, but it's like I sort of want to spend more time using constructive building sentences to restore things the way that they need to go. And I think, thinking about whatever, and this goes for all of us, whatever your individual objective is and finding allies to fulfill that is a worthwhile thing to do. I think, I don't know if you mentioned it on the show tonight, but when I was talking to him about 10 days ago, Max said something. He said that the goal was to get out of here with your soul intact. And it's certainly one of the goals. I think it is. And I think most people here are in that arena. We're fully aware of these encroachments upon us, that they're unnatural, that they create anxieties that should not exist, that the whole system, it's the system as a whole is just sick, and we are sick of it. And the only way to do it is to not resist it. It's to restore ours. We actually do have one, but we've lost touch with it. We've been distracted. And I think it's like criticizing the enemy in a battle. Oh, look, they've got this and they've got that. Forget about that. What are we going to do? Right? Make them worry about us. It's easier said than done. That's why I just said it. But nevertheless, it's sort of, I'm looking for guiding statements back to myself and others that I go, oh, that's helping nudge us in the right direction.
Well, that's right.
It's to move. It's to act.
But
on
psychologically,
anything.
I mean, I was thinking of calling it national
FAR, then COUGH, cough day, so it's not so rude. But that will.
It's got to be rude, Eric. It's got to be rude.
So
the working man won't know what you're talking about. You just, he uses the F word all day long, right?
Yeah.
And just give him,
I think you're right.
Now you can swear for England, literally, in our case, or Scotland, or Wales,
that's a
or
good
America.
one. Swear for England, or that's it. Do your bit. Swear for England,
and it's so simple. And I think from that we can do like little spring hops out from that, ripple out. And it's surprising how things travel. Look at the smiley face idea, the bloke who thought that one up. Look how far that's travelled. It's everywhere now. So I think that, I think I'm serious here. I think we're onto something. We really are onto something. It could go all the way around the world. People are fed up with government. They
are a bit. Mike Mantis, by the way, a little while ago said, get somebody on with Tourette's. Okay. You got anybody in mind? I could ask my my sort of family relation. I've not spoken to him for a little while, but I don't know how well it would go. He's not really, as far as I'm aware, he's not curious about the topics that we cover here at this moment in his life. But I haven't spoken to him for a few years. You never know.
Yeah.
Things are sort of, all sorts of people are suddenly smelling the bad smell and going, what's really going on, and all that kind of stuff. So you never know. You never know. I mean, of course, it would give us an excuse to swear as well.
Well,
and then the whole thing would just go down the toilet. It'd be just awful. It'd be terrible.
Well, never mind. I mean, the farm I went to today, they've got for children's holidays, and they got a cow safari. I said, what? They said, it's a cow safari. And what they've got is a cart behind a cow, and they just take the kids round a cow field so they can see all the cows. And they said the kids absolutely love it. It's fantastic. It's like being on a sort of African safari, but with cows.
Well, cows really, I can understand why people did worship cows. The Greeks were big into cows, weren't they? No cows, right? You can't bring your babies up. I mean, it's major. Like if you have a cheeseburger, no cheese and no burger, right? It's a big thing. Of course, they want to get rid of cows, don't they, and everything like that.
Oh, yes.
I'm just fed up of what they want to do. What I want to do is I want more cows. We just need to talk in the positive. We want more cows.
Yeah.
We want all the people that shouldn't be living with us to be repatriated, remigrated. Not because we hate them, but because this doesn't work. And also, you never asked us, so the answer's no. You don't cheekily get to just assume things over us. We need the courts shutting down. The police needs to be shut down. Yeah, there's just tons of stuff. Eric, it's been a fun last hour, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and thanks. I really enjoyed Max Igan. He needs to come on again. He's fantastic, and also his friend as well was very interesting.
She was brilliant, Ivana. Yeah, she was absolutely brilliant. So, if we get to know him, we might get to know more of Max's mates and get them involved as well. That would be fantastic. Shout out to everybody in the chat and everything. You've all been absolutely wonderful. And we'll be back again same time next week. Have a cracking week and practice your swearing. You're going to need it to save the nation.
Right.
We're going to shout our way back to freedom.
And collect your cones, remember that?
Yeah, collect your cones. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Have a good one. Show's coming up on FFT over the next few days or whatever. I might even be on tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, something like that. Radio Tart. Can't help it. See you all soon. Bye for now.